A match between two people unfolded as the blonde guy aggressively declared, "Do you really think a mere commoner like you can defeat me?" The losing flag is already waving right from the start. As the battle began, the blonde guy tried attacking, shouting, "Watch closely, Lilith. Watch as the fool who defied me, Weiss-sama, is humiliated in front of everyone." But in the next second, he was on the ground, defeated by the black swordsman. This was Vincent, commonly known as the Villainous Noble. He was a person who lost to the protagonist, Alan, and lost everything from that point on. In the end, he was used as a shield by the Demon King and died. But with that, the main character, who was playing a game, also died. This is how he was reincarnated as the Villainous Noble, Weiss Vincent, in a manner that a girl cried as a shady person, who was Weiss Vincent, licked his lips while she was tied up in front of him. The main character, now in Weiss's body, had a change in expression as soon as he was transported into this body. He couldn't understand what was happening and looked blank, thinking, "Who? Where is this? What the hell is happening? I was playing a game just a moment ago, but before I knew it, a woman was tied up in a lewd position right in front of me." The girl, looking toward Weiss, called out, "What's wrong?" The main character gritted his teeth, thinking, "Such an incredibly beautiful girl, but I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. And this name, Weiss Vincent." He freaked out, saying, "Wait, could it be that I've become the Villainous Noble, the abusive person, Weiss Vincent?" There's no mistake about it. This is the villainous character in the school game Noblesse Oblige, Weiss Vincent. The game is a fantasy school game that I've played multiple times. This was the game's villainous noble who stands in the way of the protagonist, Alan, in the school arc of this game. He is the lowest kind of scum who uses his power to relentlessly torment the weak. After being thoroughly defeated by the protagonist, Vincent, who had lost everything, became a servant of the Demon King. In the end, he was used as a shield and died. Realizing the tied-up girl was Lilith Scarlet, the maid of the house, he thought, "Come to think of it, this person's hobby was to torment Lilith, wasn't it? What a horrible lunatic. Why would he do something like that?" Gritting his teeth, he said to himself, "To such a cute girl. Let me quickly untie her. Wait, if I suddenly change my stance like this, will it seem suspicious? Well, it looks like the girl already has suspicions, but I can't just leave her like this." As he untied her, he said, "Lilith, your neck." He was quite worried about it, thinking, "Poor thing, trembling so much like this. Should I give it a try?" Using his powers, he placed a healing spell on her. She was quite startled, but her bruise marks were gone. "I did it. Swoosh." This is the healing magic that the developers kept hidden, which has been usable since the beginning. I'm glad I found out about this, as it was exposed in a strategy book. She looked toward him, and he, a bit startled, made excuses, saying, "Don't get it wrong. This is I just wanted to practice healing magic. It's not like I did it for you or anything." With a darkened expression and tears in her eyes, she said, "Thank you very much, Weiss-sama. You took me by surprise." She added, "I didn't know you could use healing magic." Even though it was originally his fault, she was thanking him. It seemed like Vincent had pushed her to the point where she became disobedient. With a darkened face, he looked toward her and said, "Lilith, I'm sorry for everything up until now. I won't do it anymore." She had a puzzled expression. The scene shifted to the dining section. The butler, who placed all the dishes, was Seabass Aiden, the family butler of the Vincent family. The butler thought, usually he would just say it tastes bad and throw the plate on the floor. But as the main character called him out, he said, "Seabass, I've been wrong until now, treating food carelessly. The seasoning was perfect today." Hearing these words from his young master made him cry, saying, "Such gracious words. I'm extremely honored by them." Every servant had tears in their eyes, thinking, "This young master is so wonderful." The main character thought, "I was just giving him a compliment for the meal, though. Do these people think that Weiss has grown up or something? They're so moved that they don't even notice he's become a different person, at least on the inside. I guess he must have been really terrible, the old Weiss." Opening his drawer, he thought, "From now on, I will make sure not to make these poor girls sad. First, I will dispose of this stick." Placing his stake, he thought, I must change even more. As a noble, I'm obliged to attend the good academy at the age of 15. The entrance exam for that school is just 2 years away. After losing to the protagonist in that combat test, the reputation of Weiss starts to decline and negative opinions begin to rise. However, if he hadn't lost to the protagonist there, the future might have changed. In that case, I have no choice but to go for it. Burning the stick in his hand, he said, even if it takes all my strength, I will avoid the path to ruin. Covered in sweat, sitting on a tree with a sword in his hands, someone startled him by loudly calling Weiss. This was Milk Augusta, an S-ranked adventurer. She said, are you even taking this seriously? The main character replied, I am, but I don't think I can move anymore. How about a little break? She responded, I see. In that case, take a proper rest. That is, if you want to be called a loser right after enrolling. He made a face, but had no choice. He started swinging his sword. I used my family's connections to ask an amazing person to be my teacher. Bend your knees, keep your wrists up, arrange your stance. Hell, that's supposed to be. This was Milk Augustus. Originally, she appeared at the end of the game and was considered the swordsman closest to being the strongest in the royal capital. Just forget that I'm a noble and train me without any mercy, he had said, but she was extremely sadistic and scary. The maid Lilith called out, Why Sama, the item you requested. Thank you, Lilith. What does the writing mean? She replied, well, it means that I will do my best to the point of dying. Noblesse Oblige is a game referred to as a death game, a super high difficulty game that you can only clear by repeatedly playing it. If he neglected his preparation, it would result in immediate expulsion, or worse, not a single second could be wasted. However, honestly, it was incredibly exhausting, but improving his basic fitness was crucial for effectively learning swordsmanship and magic. He started the day by practicing forms, then ran endlessly to improve his stamina, followed by hellish muscle training from morning till night, over and over again. The next day, it never stopped. By night, the butler said, as instructed by the young master, this is a menu packed with protein. Sorry for being a burden, even though you're busy. The main character replied, 2 weeks since the training began, injuries could be healed with recovery magic, but a train the body's diet was also important. Thanks to sea bass providing vigorous support, he could somehow manage even a bit of overwork. 3 weeks since the training began, it was hellish to the point where a single day felt like a month. But now, before he even knew it, the sun had already set. Since he had finally gotten used to the physical training, he decided to call the magic teacher. I've been getting tired from Milk Sensei's strict training, too. I hope the magic teacher is kind. As the butler called her in, he wondered, what kind of teacher is she going to be? A woman with a witch hat on her head said, Nice to meet you. Why, Sama. As she put her hat down, he saw it was Milk Augustus again. She introduced herself, and the main character, on all fours, banged his head on the ground, saying, Not you again. She said, I am not only a sword master, but also a master of magic. Nice to meet you again, Weissquin. What's the point of reappearing in the same composition? He called out to his butler. Hey, Seabass, I told you to call a kind teacher. The butler replied, Milk is a genius magic swordsman who can use 2 of the 4 great magic attributes, you know. She looked at him with a grin and said, Do you want me to be gentle? He was overjoyed. Really, she had a nice expression, saying, Yeah, leave it to me. I'm a professional, after all. But these were empty words. She shouted, Don't close your eyes. Channel more magic power. He was underneath a waterfall with agonizing eyes, saying, Where the hell is your kindness? Isn't this even tougher than sword training? She replied, Keep it up for another 2 hours. To use magic, you need mana. The only way to increase that mana is through constant training. So, repeat this every day until you pass out. No way, the main character said as he passed out. Lilith was dragging his body from the water. From that day on, in addition to basic magic training, practicing with wooden swords also began. He got hit, injured, and fell to the ground as the instructor said, You're still full of openings. Of course, Lilith healed him whenever he got injured. She said, I will support you with healing magic too, so do your best, Weiss-sama. He replied, that helps me a lot, Lilith. Milk said, I see. I've got my hands on a good punching bag, it seems. To the main character, battered on the ground, it felt strange. Why is someone as lazy as me able to work so hard? In my past life, I was a living corpse. I immediately ran away from things I had to face. I gave up. I surrendered. How is it that I can work so diligently now? What's the difference between my past life and now? It had been 2 months since this hellish training began, and he was somewhat in shape now. As the instructor patted him on the head, she had a blushing, truly happy expression, saying, You've achieved it in 2 hours. That's quite an improvement. The main character was happy, too, pointing at her hand, saying, Is this what you meant by teaching me gently? That's right, she said. Every time you achieve a goal, I will reward you with a pat. He said, I feel like the ratio of carrots to the stick is off. The training is big, but the reward is small. She replied, Well, that's not entirely true, Weiss. Here came Lilith, a bit shocked, bringing him some lunch. With a cute, pouty face, she looked beautiful. Milk said, I am merely the one wielding the stick. You've probably already gotten plenty of carrots from others. Don't forget the existence of the carrot roll that supports you so you could do your best. He looked toward Lilith, who seemed to have no idea why he was staring at her. I see. The best I can do is thank everyone, Lilith, who has always supported me by my side, Seabass, who has kept me fed, and Milk Sensei, who has stiffened my heart for growth. Without everyone's cooperation, I wouldn't have gotten this far. The previous Weiss and the me from my past life only thought about themselves. That's why no one supported me, and no one scolded me. What I really needed was a mix of love, both sweet and harsh. From now on, I will no longer live just for myself. I don't want to die. I don't want to be ruined. That has been my goal for myself, but from now on, to make Lilith and others who have helped me proud and to show everyone my impressive self. He rose up, saying, For myself and for everyone, I will avoid the path of destruction. Another day, another hellish training. His face could tell everything about it. The next goal is 4 hours. Keep going until you die, Milk Sensei said. It looked like whatever the support, it was still tough to survive. The scene shifted to a town, League Bell Town, the first town the protagonist arrives at in the game. He heard people wrestling, shouting, Don't mess with me. That's cheating. He thought, the security is still as bad as ever. He asked Milk Sensei, who was beside him, about who his opponent was supposed to be. It had been 3 months since he started training, and it seemed like the right time. He had been assigned to conduct a practical test in this city. Terrified, looking at his cold-hearted Milk Sensei, smiling for once, he knew he was in deep trouble. Don't worry, Weiss, she said. I'm thinking of picking the best opponent for you, so look forward to it. Lilith was happy, saying, Fight, fight. You will win. But the main character was trembling. I can't feel at ease at all. Some people looked at them, saying, Look at those guys. There's a girl with a nice body. I like that little one. She's quite my type. Just some ruffians calling the character a kid who was cocky, bringing beauties with him. Lilith was speechless. The main character thought, You guys better watch how you talk. This person beside me will literally tear you limb from limb. League Bell Town was considered the worst town, a den of thugs. Regardless of Milk Sensei, I absolutely have to protect Lilith at all costs, he thought. Lilith said, Those guys are quite annoying. The main character, hearing these words, was a bit confused or surprised. Milk Sensei said, Ignore them, Lilith. They're not worth our time. Well, that's true, Lilith replied, back to her cheery self. The main character was speechless, thinking, I felt like Lilith was radiating incredible killing intent. Was it just my imagination? They observed a structure, an adventurer's guild, filled with brute-looking thugs, magicians, and others. The main character was instructed by some thugs, saying, Step outside, kid. These were the Bowden brothers, his opponents. Milk Sensei explained, Rape, robbery, kidnapping, murder, slave trading. Their evil deeds are astonishing. They've been overlooked until today by paying bribes, but the military police who accepted the bribes have already been arrested. Now we just have to take care of these three brothers. They're extremely criminal, so there's no need to hold back. They're just the right opponents for a real battle. Right, Weiss? The main character said, "All right, let's hold back." He tried to escape, but with that monster by his side, how could he? She said, "Listen, you have strong determination, but you have no real combat experience. Real combat is a path you must eventually take, so you might as well get it over with now. If you miss this opportunity in the next real combat, it's not guaranteed that I'll be watching over you from behind like now. You might end up facing your first real combat all alone, and there are quite a few who have died due to lack of experience. But right now, I'm here with you. If things get dangerous, I'll help you out. Go into your first real combat with confidence." He had tears in his eyes, calling out, "Milk Sensei, what a reassuring person." But as expected, she was gone, and the three brothers had captured him. He freaked out, saying, "Where the hell did you go, Milk? Damn it, that teacher tricked me." "How do you mean go into it with confidence?" "She disappeared along with Lilith. I picked a fight with these guys because you were backing me up." One of the brothers said, "Come to the alley." "Damn it, what should I do? There's no way I can choose to back down now, just because I'm scared. I have no choice but to brace myself. The goal is to cut off their arms. There's no need to kill them, but it's 3 versus 1. I don't even know if I can win a fair fight. And on top of that, these guys look like just a bunch of punks, but they're actually quite skilled. If I get dragged into an alley, a fight will start whether I like it or not. I need to come up with a plan before that." Speaking of which, before he picked a fight with these guys, Milk Sensei had told him, "Follow what I taught you. If you do that, you'll be fine." While this was going on, Milk Sensei and Lilith were watching him from the next bar, a few meters from his position. Lilith said, "Do you think you could deceive me, Milk Sensei? You're so cruel." Milk replied, "Well, if I don't do something like that, he won't get motivated enough, you know. To begin with, a practice that assumes someone will come to help isn't really practice anymore, right? Don't worry. If things really get dangerous, I'll probably go and help him." She fell asleep on the table. Lilith knew what was coming. They were in a tight space, with a lot of ruffians gathered behind Lilith. They said, "Aren't you the kid I saw in town earlier?" Lilith looked back with empty eyes as they approached, saying, "Whoa." As expected, she's super beautiful. "Damn, you're right. Such perfect timing. We're the band of thieves that run things around here. We were just short of girls to hang out with tonight, and we were in a bit of a bind. A lot of girls have been kidnapped by these ruffians." Lilith, for some reason, turned into a dark expression monster, and in the next scene, blood splattered. This was not Lilith, but the main character. As the two brothers looked behind, they saw their third brother's hands cut off. The man screamed as the main character held the sword in his hand. They looked back, and he realized what his teacher had taught him. Move first, Weiss. The most important thing in battle is to catch the opponent off guard. The first strike that catches the opponent off guard surpasses any attacks. Even Master of Magic will die if they're hit before they can properly set up their barrier. Even a martial arts master will die if their neck is broken before they can brace themselves. In short, move before your opponent does. But the main character was in quite a predicament now as both brothers sped toward him. He kicked one in the face while the other attacked with a machete. The main character pulled out his sword. He had always put off making decisions, thinking tomorrow's me would somehow handle it. Time wouldn't resolve anything. But if the things that needed to be done were already decided, then from now on, he would have to make decisions in seconds. With incredible violence, he cut off the hands of the second brother to survive. All 3 brothers were defeated. "It's a success," he said, with sweat on his face. "If I had entered the alley, they would have surged with mana and increased their defensive strength. If all 3 had entered combat readiness at the same time, there would have been no chance of winning. I won because I moved before the enemy." Someone from behind said, "Full points." It was none other than Lilith and Milk Sensei, who said, "Full points is what I want to say, but it's a 70-point score. If I were in your predicament, I would have cut off an arm inside the Adventurers Guild." That's the proactive approach. Lilith was happy, saying, "As expected of Weiss-sama. That's 200 points from me, Lilith." The main character called out to her, and Milk Sensei, "Geez, why did you suddenly disappear?" Milk Sensei laughed, saying, I'm sorry. The main character was in a bit of a predicament as he noticed blood on Lilith's clothes. Lilith, is that blood on your clothes? She hid it, saying, It's nothing. It's just your imagination. Inside the bar where Lilith had been, the kidnapped girls and the bartender looked on with horrified eyes. All the thugs there had been brutally neutralized. More than 20 members of the notorious band of thieves were arrested after that. Although there were no fatalities, the bandits were beaten to the point where they couldn't speak. Incidentally, the notorious Bowden brothers were also arrested with the cooperation of Miss Vincent. Someone said, that Weiss Vincent looks like she has quite a role in her story. The main character wondered, Band of Thieves? What's that about? After that, a letter of thanks and a cash gift arrived at the Vincent family. Another day, another hellish training. Overwhelming growth by the main character. 1 year and 6 months had passed since the training began. Milk Sensei, watching from the sidelines, thought, it's day after day of intense training as usual, running out of stamina, passing out from mana exhaustion. The main character sensed something as a log fell toward his head. He broke it with one punch. These kinds of things no longer happened to him. He had become quite strong, and Milk Sensei was proud of him. I've become able to detect the enemy's presence through walls. I can feel the mana flowing throughout my body, and I think I've grown considerably, he thought. The butler asked, How is it, master? Is the magic training going smoothly? Well, yes, it's going smoothly, the main character replied. That being said, I have a hard time with Milk Sensei's Spartan training. The 4 elements of magic, fire, water, wind, and earth, to train them all equally. Even the butler was surprised. Seriously, Milk Sensei is such a demon. That person is way worse than the brothers I captured before. He was terrified seeing a smile on Milk Sensei's face. The butler said, the reason Milk is making Weiss-sama do so much is probably because Weiss-sama's talent is out of the ordinary. Originally, magic is supposed to be 1 element per person. Even for an S-ranked adventurer like Milk, she is only able to use 2 of these elements. However, young master can use all 4 elements. It's an exceptionally rare talent. He thought, if Weiss-sama had remained lazy, this talent probably would have never blossomed. In the past, I was surprised by his carelessness, but I never expected him to keep working so diligently without giving up. Reaching this level, you have truly become admirable, young master. The main character cried out loud, saying, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. Lilith came between Milk Sensei and him, saying, Stop breaking his nose with the wooden sword already. Milk Sensei said, Weiss, you've been practicing magic behind my back, haven't you? He replied, I'm sorry. Show me for a bit. She responded, and when the main character used his light attribute, as well as his dark attribute, special elements on top of the usual 4, Milk said, Why did you keep these a secret? He replied, If possible, I wanted to show it to you after it was complete. Actually, it's still incomplete. Incomplete? She asked. Yes, I still haven't quite got the hang of it, but if it's now, I can do it. Combining both light and dark magic attributes. It's my original magic. Now that both of you have watched this, it's like the complete perfection that I'll show you today. Somewhere in the dead of night, at a massive mansion, a party was ongoing. Someone yawned. It was none other than the main character. Lilith, who was with him, said, Weiss-sama, did you stay up late? He replied, My bad. Yawning isn't appropriate for me in a place like this, is it? She responded, Or is it that you have fatigue from yesterday's show? He said, No, that's already fine. After that, I used my original magic, which I successfully completed. Light elements healing magic and dark elements curse poison magic, dark haze. The magic that combines both of these is dark heal. It automatically heals all allies within a certain range and continuously deals curse damage to the target recognized as an enemy by me. Although I succeeded in completing this technique, the mana consumption was insane and I was exhausted afterward. I still need more training to increase my mana capability. Lilith said, Well then, Weiss-sama, to wake you up, I'm going to grab some strong booze. Hey wait, that's a bit. As she rushed off in a haze, moving so fast behind the noble's eyes, he thought, agile movements like those of an assassin. I heard there are hidden guards in the Vincent family in the backstory, but there's no way at all. Someone noticed him from behind, calling out Weiss. As he looked back, it was a girl from earlier. You remember her, right? Well, even if you don't, it won't change anything. This is Cynthia, the daughter of the Countess Violetta. She was staring straight at him with beautiful shimmering hair and pretty red eyes. Without a doubt, she was the game's main heroine, Cynthia Violetta. She smiled, saying, "Long time no see, Weiss." With a grin, she added, "What's wrong? You look like you just crushed a goblin and turned it into muddy soup." The main character had a darkened expression. Yeah, that's right. Weiss was hated by everyone, every character in the game. Among them, Cynthia was the one who hated Weiss the most in the story, and the one who caused my body to be full of holes was none other than Cynthia herself. As a member of the Vincent family, I relentlessly show my face here. I shouldn't have participated in a gathering of such individuals. I never thought I would end up having an encounter with Cynthia before enrolling. Calm down, it's still before enrollment. I haven't done anything to be hated by Cynthia yet. But then came the memory of the old lunatic Weiss. In his past memories, he couldn't understand what he was going to do. He could hardly remember, but then he noticed what the past Weiss had tried to do with Cynthia. With a darkened expression, she said, "I still haven't forgotten about what happened back then, you know? How could you brazenly attend this party? This is the worst. Just what the hell was this lunatic Weiss doing to make her loathe me so much that I feel like I could die from it?" he thought. The main character bowed down 90 degrees and said, "I can only sincerely apologize. I'm sorry, Lady Cynthia. It was all my fault, an act unworthy of a noble. I'm truly regretful. I probably won't be forgiven, but..." Cynthia wasn't so cruel as to trap someone who was genuinely reflecting on their actions. She said, "I see. It would be very grateful if this lowers the chance of my downfall somewhat. For now, this is about all I can do. I should quickly find the right moment to leave." As he tried to withdraw, someone grabbed his hand. It was Cynthia Violetta. She looked at him with a gesture, but here came Lilith, who had just brought some liquor. Seeing him holding Cynthia's hand, Lilith took his knee and said, "If you don't mind, would you like to dance with me?" As everyone danced, the three could be seen in the picture. Lilith had a dark expression on her face. The main character was blushing, unable to understand what was happening or what to do. Cynthia said, "The weather is lovely, isn't it? Refreshing tea time. The little birds are chirping." The main character agreed. The birds are indeed chirping. The events led to this moment that started that night when she asked, "If you don't mind, would you like to dance with me?" He had met the main heroine, Cynthia, by chance, and for some reason, was invited for a formal dance with her. She said, "You look puzzled. Actually, I know about it. The fact that you've changed massively." She had a blush on her face. It seemed Cynthia knew about his daily training and preparation for entering the academy through rumors among the nobles or something similar. She said, "So, you said you don't remember much about that day, right?" He was a bit dense in this situation about the attempted assault incident. He said yes. As for that, I don't know how to properly apologize for it. While dancing, she said, "What about me? Did you also forget that you said you liked me?" The main character couldn't understand but blushed. As people clapped, she said, "Era, the dance has ended, hasn't it? Well, that's quite disappointing. See you again, Weiss Vincent." After saying that, Cynthia stole his heart that day and left. But it wasn't the end. All of this was seen by the main character's father, Agato Vincent. A letter from his father arrived. What? Why a dinner party with Cynthia at my place? Wait, what does this mean? Is she coming today? Crap, she's already outside. He had a bad feeling as they got ready to welcome them. He instructed all his servants. Cynthia was a bit beat as she thought. The letter from Weiss-sama's father, there's another one inside it, that brought them to the present circumstances. He thought, that damn old man, what in the world is he thinking about? I'm honestly happy to be able to have a drink with Cynthia Violetta, someone like me, but I can't afford to get close to her. Originally, Cynthia was supposed to end up with the protagonist, Alan. If I become close to her, the events with Alan won't happen. If the future gets changed, he gritted his teeth, thinking, if the future does get changed, I won't be able to act based on the scenario anymore. Even winning against Alan in the test could lead to a change in the future, but taking the main heroine away from him would completely ruin the entire scenario from now on. He thought, it will be bad if I'm disliked, and it will be bad if I'm liked too much. I have to somehow maintain the perfect distance from her. Cynthia called out, "Hey, why Sama?" She said, "Once, you said you had fallen in love with me at first sight. Did you forget about that too?" The main character looked at her, remembering, at that time, I was too sudden, and the way you said it was a bit arrogant, so I was dissatisfied. But if you're going to show such a sincere apology, then even I wouldn't be opposed to it, you know? She blushed in front of him. Both stared at each other for a moment. The main character was almost dead inside, his soul overwhelmed, unable to understand what was happening. He thought, this girl is so noble-looking, yet she has such a soft side that scares me. The moment I thought it would be bad if I got liked, this had to happen. Come to think of it, in the original story, the speed at which she falls for the protagonist was astronomically abnormal, wasn't it? Cynthia is certainly soft-hearted, but this is bad for me. Once she falls in love, she becomes incredibly devoted to that person. I have to somehow lower her affection for me. But it seems she had already crossed the line into obsession. She said, "Your white side is quite cute, Weiss. My favorability is rising on its own without me doing anything." Lilith appeared behind him, startling the main character nearly to death. She asked, "Would you like a refill, Weiss-sama?" He thanked her, thinking, this is bad. I ended up letting out such a pathetic moan, but this might be a good thing. If she hears such a filthy moan, her feelings for me will surely deteriorate. But she thought it was cute, saying Weiss-sama is so cute. He thought, this girl is hopeless. I need to do something about this quick. Lilith called out to him, and Cynthia added, "You've heard about today's matter from your father, right?" He couldn't understand anything. She explained, "It's about the story of our engagement. It seems today's dinner party is meant for our introduction. Although it was something our parents decided on their own, after talking with you today, I've decided to agree to it." "Oh, our engagement?" the main character said, quietly sipping his tea. The scene shifted to an open park with stabbing noises. Someone said, "Good grief, he's such a troublesome son, isn't he? Weiss is similar to me in appearance. Handsome, but he's a bit shy when it comes to these things." He finally got the chance to dance with the famous Lady Cynthia. Regardless, Weiss and Lady Cynthia's engagement, I took immediate action and settled the matter without hesitation. That idiot Weiss could have been happy by now. They were playing in a children's park, as the bodyguard said. "You're doing this with your son's approval, right, sir?" He replied, "I'm his father, you know. I can tell what he wants just by looking at his face. Stop complaining and help me with the tunnel operation." "Yes, sir." At the main character's house, it was time for Lady Cynthia to leave. "The hell do you mean by engagement?" he screamed at his dad. Beside him was Cynthia, who had handed him the letter. "Wait, my father had arranged not just a small tea party, but an engagement with Cynthia? It's common for parents to decide marriage partners in noble families. But this isn't some kind of parent-arranged political marriage. It seems he made this arrangement with the Violetta family just to make his son happy. His father hardly appeared in the original work and didn't even come home, so he didn't know what kind of father he had. But it seemed he was the epitome of an excessively indulgent parent who would destroy anything for his son." The main character thought, "I feel like I finally understand the biggest reason why Weiss turned out to be such a villainous noble." Cynthia, with an emotional look in her eyes, called his name and cried out, "Please be happy with Violetta, Weiss-sama." He couldn't understand as she ran off at top speed. He thought, she's so fast. No, wait, what's wrong with her? Out of nowhere, Milk Sensei arrived. She said, "Today's training quota is to chase Lilith." He couldn't understand. "Weiss, do you know why Lilith was crying?" "It's because the man she's been supporting for a year and a half was suddenly taken away by a young lady who appeared out of nowhere. Even though the engagement wasn't your decision, I won't allow you to ignore the fact that Lilith is saddened because of it. Return to the mansion with Lilith. If you can't, I'll give you death as punishment." The main character said, yes, and ran after her. If you understand, then hurry up and go, boy, she shouted. He thought, yeah, that's right. Lilith has always been by my side. There's no way she wouldn't be shocked by this engagement. Not to mention, I owe a big debt to Lilith. If she hadn't supported me, I would have remained my lazy self. The reason I was able to do my best is because of Lilith. He called out, Lilith, please wait. As he tried to catch her, she increased her speed, saying, please leave me alone. He said, you're killing me. Even though I'm chasing with all my might, why can't I catch up to her? She jumped over a small river from point A to point B as he trailed behind, saying, please, just listen to me. She replied, it's fine, why Sama? It can't be helped. I'm just a maid after all. He shouted, you're not just a maid, you're someone precious to me. The engagement was something my father decided on his own. It's not something I decided. Also, Lilith, do you know about the servant system at the Noblesse Magic Academy? At the academy where I'll be enrolling, only high-ranking nobles are allowed to have one servant assigned as an exception. I plan to take you with me because I trust you the most. With tears in her eyes, she looked back and said, me the most? She continued, well, does that mean, why Sama, that you're seeking me? Exhausted from running, he replied, that's why I'm doing this. She said, will you continue to chase after me forever, won't you? As she slid down the stairs, he, huffing and puffing, thought, no, it's not good. I'm not going to stay conscious for long. He yelled, yes, that's right. She came toward him, saying, I understand. If you insist that much, from now on, I'll be Wai-sama's mistress. She stopped, but he was flying over a cliff ahead, about to fall. She noticed and jumped without caring for her own life, hugging him. Both were now falling into the forest. She said, please be at ease, Wai-sama. I'll do my best. The fact that we've become involved in such a relationship, I'll never tell anyone about it. Blushing, she added, it's a secret love, isn't it? Both fell into the water. This is how he got engaged to Cynthia and became involved in an affair with Lilith. The scene shifted to a boy with black hair who said, all right, as he broke a rock open. It's almost here, the entrance exam. This was the original game protagonist, fully ready for the entrance. The main character thought, the other day a lot of things happened, and somehow I got engaged to Cynthia and became a secret lover to Lilith. The whole mess is so ridiculous that I can't even wrap my head around it. Thanks to my father for making all of this so complicated. When you get back from your diplomatic work, I've got plenty of complaints coming your way. Milk Sensei called out. All right, let's call it quits on the basic training here and move on to some practical sparring. Ladies Cynthia and Lilith, have either of you ever sparred in your life before? Cynthia said, of course I have. Lilith also said, yes, I have. The main character was hesitant. Lilith, you have. She had sweat on her face. He thought, speaking of things getting complicated, there's one more thing. Lilith and Cynthia have joined the training in preparation for the entrance test in a few months. It seems they both asked Milk Sensei to train them as well. Cynthia already has more than enough abilities to pass with ease. As for Lilith, I originally planned to have her as my attendant, so she didn't need to take the test in the first place. However, she wanted to support me academically as well, so I allowed her to take the test with me. Technically, neither of them needed any training. Or rather, if Cynthia, who is guaranteed to pass, puts in even more effort, she might become an even more formidable presence than in the original story. Milk threw a sword at the main character, calling his name. He picked it up as she said, first, you and Cynthia will fight. The couple stood in front of each other, staring into each other's eyes. Milk said, just because she's your fiancée, don't get captivated and hold back, okay? Cynthia added, Era, being captivated? He felt embarrassed, and Lilith said, do your best. They faced each other, and Milk Sensei said, I trust you understand. Even without me, saying begin, right? He couldn't understand, but Cynthia Violetta made her first move, attacking him. Her relentless, hard attack put him in trouble. She had sparkling eyes as he gritted his teeth. A large amount of pressure emitted on the ground. Milk Sensei said, didn't I tell you? The most important thing in a fight is the first move. Isn't that right? Even Cynthia pointed it out. Why you? He realized she had disappeared. Something happened, and his eyes gleamed with dark energy. He easily detected that Cynthia was behind him. She was quite surprised by this. Cynthia specialized in ice magic. Her signature move was to infuse her legs with magic, allowing her to move at high speeds, as if skating. He prepared for a counterattack. In the next second, she cried, "I'm frustrated. I sparred at home several times before, but this is the first time my attack has been dodged so easily." She had a bump on her head, and Lilith was trying to heal her. Cynthia wholeheartedly thanked Lilith, who said, "There's no problem." She asked, "Hey, Weiss, how did you read Cynthia's high-speed movement? She should have been pretty fast." Milk Sensei, not that interested, said, "Let's see if that was just a fluke or not. Next, you'll fight Lilith." "Oh, wait, what? I'm fighting again? You're not that tired, are you? Stop whining and get on with it," Milk said. He replied, "Yeah, sure, but thought, no, there's no way I can spar with Lilith, who's just a maid." Or so I thought. But I've seen her actions time and time again, actions that are anything but maid-like. If I let my guard down here, I feel like I would die. He was right because she disappeared. A ferocious amount of shaking occurred on the ground as she fought at godlike speed. He used the dark energy in his eyes again and blocked her attacks one by one. She tried to attack once more, but her blade was blocked. Milk Sensei was impressed. "So, you can see Lilith's movement." It seems seeing through Lady Cynthia's high-speed movement wasn't just a fluke. He thought, "Damn it, what's going on?" In the original story, Lilith was just Weiss's assistant with barely any screen time. I never imagined she would be this strong. She only just began to learn magic, but her speed is far superior to mine. She also has knowledge in swordsmanship. If I don't take this seriously, I'll lose. He made a dark energy ball in his hand and used his original spell, Dark Heal. Lilith thought, this is Weiss-sama's original magic. It's a skill that heals allies within the magic circle while continuously dealing curse damage to enemies. She sensed she needed to get out of the circle quickly. No, Weiss-sama temporarily let go of his wooden sword to cast his magic with both hands, and seeing him completely defenseless, this is my chance. Even if I escape the circle now, as someone who can only fight in close combat, I'd just end up being attacked once I didn't leave with magic. This is my only chance. She rushed toward him, saying, "I'll seize this opening." The main character stood up, smirked, and with a glint, a barrier appeared between them, stopping her wooden sword instantly. She jumped back, unable to understand what happened. It bounced off. "Good," he said, holding her back. "This is Absolute Barrier, my original magic that combines the permanence of dark magic with the protection of light magic. On top of that, there's this magic I've been using, the Dark Eye. Even if my body can't keep up with Lilith's speed, by making full use of the Dark Eye and Absolute Barrier, I can keep defending against her attacks as long as my mana holds out." Milk Sensei asked Lilith, "So what will you do?" Lilith tensed as she realized something. Milk ordered the main character to cancel his magic quickly. Lilith was on the ground. Milk and the main character rushed to her as she was unconscious. "It's a complete defeat, Weiss-sama," she said, regaining consciousness. "Sorry, are you all right?" he asked. Milk said, "I gave her an advanced potion, so she'll be all right." "Really fine. It was a pretty rare one, you know. More importantly, Weiss, what was that magic you used? I knew it saps away vigor, but I never imagined Lilith of all people would go down in just a few seconds. Was that some other effect of the magic?" He replied, "Yes, the magic Dark Heal, when the opponent enters the magic circle, inflicts physical weakness, vigor reduction, vitality reduction, mana drain, magic defense reduction, physical damage reduction, attack speed reduction, and movement speed decrease. Since Lilith still has relatively little mana reserve, I believe that's why her mana was drained so quickly, causing her to collapse. But I'm the exact opposite. I can add all the stats I steal from the enemy to my own strength and strengthen myself. The more enemies there are within the circle, the stronger I become. If I recognize someone as an ally, I can grant them the same enhancement." He said this so nonchalantly that he forgot to look at the faces of those hearing it. They were astonished, not just astonished, but completely mesmerized. He thought, I see this trend. Could it be this is the timing to say that? What's that, you ask? Well, of course, it's obvious. The limited line everyone dreams of saying after reincarnation into another world. I've always wanted to say it. It's okay to say it, right? He took a breath, but was stopped. Milk Sensei said, "Duel with me, Weiss." He looked at her, seeing his death. She said, "To think you've grown this much. It's been so long since I've felt this fired up. I'll have you take responsibility for this. Use that power of yours to calm me down." Menacingly, he knew he had messed up and was obliterated. Cynthia and Lilith joined the training, enduring Milk Sensei's Spartan training every day while the misunderstandings of his relationships with both remained unresolved. Before they knew it, days and months flew by in an instant. Finally, the day arrived at the Noblesse Magic Academy, boasting the largest campus in the world, the kingdom's most prestigious educational institution sought after by all. Today, the entrance test began. Someone called out, "Oh, you idiot! What the hell are you staring at?" This was the original protagonist, Alan, who said, "I just thought you were really big." "No, I wasn't staring." The big man said, "So you were doing it." He tried to punch him, but was stopped by the main character, who stopped him instantly and glared at him widely. The big man said, "Ouch. Who the hell are you?" People chatted behind them. "Hey, isn't that Weiss? You mean that infamous, abusive noble?" Looking at Cynthia and Lilith, they assumed, then the girl with him must be Lady Cynthia from the House Violetta. All right, so the engagement rumors were actually true. But who's the other beauty? Showing up for the exam with two hot chicks, that guy's seriously something else. The big man, realizing he was from the villainous noble house of Weiss Vincent, was on the ground apologizing, saying, "Please, anything but the abuse. My deepest apologies." The main character thought, "Like hell I do that to someone like you. Just get lost already," as the big man dashed away. Weiss thought, "It's been a while since I reincarnated, but it looks like Weiss's reputation is as bad as ever and still going strong. I have to be as friendly as possible and gradually change how people see me." 2 years have passed since I began my training, and now, at last, we've arrived at the day of the Noblesse Magic Academy entrance exam. Today, I must defeat a certain man. That man was behind him, saying, "Thank you. You really saved me." This was Alan, introducing himself to the main character. He said, "You're Weiss, right? Let's do our best. I hope we both make it through." He put his hand forward. The main character looked at it, and as he was about to shake hands, the bell rang, interrupting them. Lilith said, "The warning bell just rang." Cynthia added, "The exam is about to start. Weiss, Alan. We need to hurry too." The lady beside Alan said, "Right." As they left, Alan said, "By the way, where's Duke and Cheryl? He went ahead while you were getting tangled up in all that." The main character looked at her and thought, "What is this feeling?" Just now, I hesitated to reach for Alan's hand. Even just talking to him filled me with an unbearable sense of unease. Why is that? He couldn't make sense of it. It's not like I particularly dislike Alan. Sure, my goal today is to defeat him in the exam, but after that, I plan to stay on friendly terms while keeping my distance, of course. The announcer declared, "For the upcoming practical combat test, everyone, please change into these. These are handmade robes from former students, but will help reduce damage from both magic and physical attacks." The main character's heart hurt, feeling relentless. He couldn't suppress the throbbing sensation and unease in his heart. For some reason, he had to defeat him, crush him relentlessly, not just him, but everyone here. He thought, "Damn it, what's wrong with me?" The announcer explained, "The winner is the one who either knocks their opponent out of the ring or makes them surrender. Also, I will step in if things get too dangerous. Any questions?" The big man said, "Yes, these uniforms are too small." The instructor replied, "It's a little late to complain about that, you know." Another said, "Mine's too small as well, and it's kind of stinky." The instructor said, "Like I said, don't bring it up now. Seriously, you guys are huge. Are you really 15? If you pass, you'll get brand new uniforms in your size, so just deal with it for now." Lilith said to Cynthia, "Still, it's impressive that they managed to prepare uniforms for every examinee here. Thanks to that, it already feels like we've enrolled." Cynthia explained, "That's because a bunch of students ditched their uniforms and disappeared, apparently. It shows how hellish life is after entering this academy. Lilith was worried, as was the main character, but for different reasons. The Noblesse Magic Academy was the most prestigious and brutal educational institution in the kingdom. Anyone who couldn't keep up was expelled on the spot. The lessons were so intensive that some students didn't even make it out alive, discarding their uniforms as they left, never wanting to see them again. He thought, that said, getting in isn't actually that hard. Even that lazy guy managed to pass in the original story. As rain began to fall slowly from the clouds, the announcer called, "The next examining numbers are 909, Vincent Weiss, and 907, Alan." The main character and the original protagonist stared each other down. Some students complained, "It's really coming down now." The instructor said, "It can't be helped." Everyone except those currently in a match moved to the spectator seats. As they got ready, someone said, "Whoa, isn't that rain hitting us here?" Alan said, "Never thought I'd be facing you in this mock battle. Let's make a good one, Weiss. You better not lose." His childhood friend said, "Do your best." Cynthia and Lilith said, "Do your best, Weiss-sama." The referee announced, "Now then, let's start the mock battle." Not even a minute into the battle, the main character was relentlessly overpowering Alan like a demon. He used his original spell, Dark Heal, and applied it torturously. Alan was screaming out of his wits. His childhood friend was traumatized, and Lilith and Cynthia were quite surprised. Even the referee was having his energy drained. The main character thought, "Damn it, as I thought, it's no good. I can't suppress this feeling, this burning urge to crush him." The referee, protected by the main character, thought, "Why? Since earlier, what is this feeling? Wait, could it be? It feels so good." The referee said, "Weiss, is this because of you? Is this because of the inner feelings of him?" With Weiss's bangs and such an outlook, everyone was scared or rather traumatized. After the entrance exams, at a round table with 3 people, someone said, "So, what exactly did you two do to Weiss Vincent?" These were Milk Augustus and the butler, Seabass Aiden, both speechless. The old man said, "Who would have thought that Weiss Vincent would break all previous records in every single exam? I'd like to ask you two who raised him." This was Giles, the Noblesse Magic Academy's headmaster. She asked, "What do you think of that boy with such dangerous abilities?" The butler was speechless, as was Milk. The Duke standing beside them said, "Headmaster, may I have a word?" This was Darius, the Academy's instructor. He said, "While Weiss's scores are indeed the highest in academic history, he didn't technically break any records. Have you forgotten last year's incoming student? Oh, right, he tied for first place with that girl, didn't he? Such a stickler for details." Milk said, "Headmaster, I haven't done anything special for Weiss. At most, I provided some basic training for him." The butler continued, "Same for me. I just supported him with meals, and that's all. Also, I gave him a lot of protein." He remembered how the main character asked for it. "Protein? What now?" The instructor was speechless, then furious, slamming his hand down. "Don't mess with us." In addition to the 4 major attributes, he mastered creation magic, light, and dark magic. There's no way he could have achieved that with just those. Milk Sensei, gulping down booze, said, "Look, I don't know what to tell you." They asked, "Why are you drinking right now?" In front of the headmaster, no less. "Who gave her the alcohol?" "She was asleep because of it." The butler gave her his coat, saying, "Seems she brought it herself." "Good grief." The headmaster said, "Darius, keep it down. Milk has always been like that, hasn't she?" The instructor replied, "I know, but this is just cruel to that boy, Alan. He nearly died because that brat Weiss Vincent beat the crap out of him. Alan is someone I trained. He has exceptional talent." Gritting his teeth, he screamed, "That guy's going to be a problem." Milk Sensei said, "Are you going to spout the same nonsense even on the battlefield? Jealousy is unsightly, Darius." She looked dangerous. The two had a heated argument. The butler said, "Enough, both of you. Stop at once. Headmaster, it seems you have concerns about Weiss-sama's enrollment, but please rest assured. Weiss-sama would never use his power against the weak. He has changed. Rather than being consumed by his own abilities, He pushes himself with genuine effort to become a man who is strong and courageous, truly a god among men. Cynthia, the main character, and Lilith were accepted, and classes began. The teacher said, "First of all, congratulations on your enrollment. I am Chloe, and I will be in charge of this class. I'm looking forward to teaching all of you." This was the Noblesse Magic Academy instructor, Chloe, welcoming everyone. There were many people, and the main character, Lilith, and Cynthia were ready, but someone was giving them a dark expression. It was Alan looking at him. The main character thought, "On the day of the exam, I successfully defeated Alan. Back then, I was consumed by Weiss's emotions and nearly beat him to death. But no matter how many times I knocked him down, he kept getting back up, growing stronger each time. In the end, I won by a landslide, but it took far longer to bring him down than I initially expected. I felt like I was being shown what it truly means to be a protagonist." The teacher snapped her fingers, and something appeared in front of the main character's eyes, surprising him and the other students. A light shone, displaying 1,000 points. The teacher said, "This is the amount each of you has been given." A student asked, "Points? What are these?" She explained, "These points are a measure that will follow you all the way until graduation. Right now, everyone has 1,000 points, but based on your test results, the amount you've been granted is 2,000. Everyone was shocked and in a predicament over him getting 2,000. Someone said, "So these are like grades, right? Isn't doubling his point a bit too harsh on everyone else? What even are these points? Please explain properly, sensei." She fixed her glasses as the main character looked back. She said, "Rather than explaining everything with words, I think it'll be easier for you all to understand through experience. Everyone, grab a wooden sword and head to the training grounds." They looked scared. "We will begin the combat test. Earlier, I congratulated you all on your enrollment, but I never said I would see you through to graduation." They were not just surprised, but distressed. "Right, today, let's have you all fight it out until someone's points hit 0. In a tense atmosphere outside the academy, Milk Sensei was drinking booze, having battered a lot of thieves who were now her servants. She thought, "Ever since Weiss left for the academy, every day feels so empty." Blushing, she said, "All right, guess I'll kill some time by getting a teaching license at Noblesse Magic Academy." A storm was brewing. The scene shifted to the classroom, where someone was trying to get to know the main character, saying, "You're Weiss, right? I'm Lucius. I watched your mock battle, and you were amazing. They say it's the highest score ever." This shimmering, good-looking guy was trying to get close to the main character while Cynthia and Lilith looked at him. This was Lucius Mincing, a bright, refreshing, top-tier potential character in the original story who achieved excellent grades and graduated at the top of his class. Yet Lucius was now at 0 points, totally defeated. The instructor said, "Did you not hear him, Lucius Vincent? You are hereby expelled." The main character thought, who was his opponent? It was none other than Alan, who had utterly crushed him. At the academy's cafeteria, the main character sat with a plate of delicious food, thinking, "Damn it, what do I do now?" I was trying my best not to break the scenario and avoid unnecessary actions aside from beating Alan to keep the original story intact as much as possible. But right now, the main heroine has somehow become my fiancée. This is quite delicious, Lilith. And Lucius, who was supposed to stay until graduation, ended up leaving on the very first day. Everything is spiraling into unforeseen chaos. And what's even more unexpected are the dark emotions welling up from the original Weiss inside my mind. Ever since meeting Alan, my inner Weiss has been ordering me to get aggressive, not just toward Alan, but everyone around him. I was supposed to play nice, gain their trust, and slowly, carefully, right now, I can't help but want to crush them all one by one. If I give in to these emotions and start hurting those around me, I'll just end up being hated, just like in the original story. Someone asked, "You want to crush them all?" It was none other than Cynthia Violetta. She said, "Sounds fine to me if that's what you truly want." Surprised, he asked, "You're not even reacting to me, saying something like this?" She replied, "This is the Noblesse Magic Academy. Remember." He was stunned. She continued, "Honestly, I was a little worried about you. You've always been too kind. In a world where it's crush or be crushed, you can't afford to show any mercy toward your opponents. But after seeing how you fought during the test, I've actually started to see you in a new light." He was speechless. The cook interrupted. "There's plenty more pot pie, young lady. How about another bowl?" Cynthia said, "Oh no, I'm good. Thank you." Lilith felt the same way, saying, "The world of competition is harsh. If we choose to stand in it, we must be just as ruthless." Cheerfully, she added, "But in the end, doing what you want is what's most important. I'll support you no matter what." The main character took her name, but the cook interrupted again, saying, "Aren't you still hungry? There's a lot of pot pie left, you know." Lilith said, "No, thank you." Cynthia said, "Since you're my fiancé, you should at least have the spirit to knock everyone else down." He was so happy, thanking both of them, who smiled at him. "Talking to you two really helped put things into perspective. I don't know if I can come to terms with it right away." The chef was still trying to finish his dish. Lilith said, "Oh right, why Sama? If you really can't decide, there's also the idea of a coin toss, you know." He replied, "I see. Leaving it to fate is an option too. The scenario is already half in ruins anyway. If I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, maybe I'll just stop thinking altogether and let the coin decide everything." But before he could get any results, the cook came and shouted, "I put a lot of effort into making this, so please eat it all." The coin rolled to the end of the cafeteria. Shocked, he saw the kingdom's castle depicted on the front and a dragon symbolizing the strongest on the back. He thought, if heads comes up, I'll fight against this impulse to avoid ruin and make an effort to get along with Alan. If tails comes up, the opposite. The coin stopped, then fell, and someone picked it up. It was none other than Alan. He handed it to the main character, saying, "You dropped this." He added, "Sorry for my late greetings, but as you can see, I managed to enroll too, even after getting beaten to a pulp like that. I'm glad, though, because I wanted to see you again. No, actually, I wanted to fight you again. That's probably more accurate, I guess." The main character smiled, taking the coin, saying, "I see, Alan. It looks like the dragon has come up, and it's decided that you're going to be crushed." As this rivalry unfolded, someone appreciated the cook, asking for more of his dish, and he had tears in his eyes. On the battlefield, the main character was destroying everyone one by one. The teacher said, "That's quite enough, Chris." A girl lying on the platform was expelled. Another man with sweat on his face tried to attack, but was cut in half or something like that, and Gustavo was expelled as well. The main character seemed more ruthless than ever. Screams occurred as Leo, Min, and Karuna were expelled by him, some lying flat, others dug into the ground. I thought it was a severhead. Expelled. What was his name? Expelled one by one. Cynthia was embarrassed by the main character, as was Lilith, saying, "You've gotten 6 more rivals expelled today, huh?" Cynthia and Lilith flanked them from both sides, drawing the enemy's attention. "Roger that. I owe you one, Alan." The main character thought, "Thanks to you, I won't have to hesitate anymore." He said, "I'll crush your head and tear this entire scenario to pieces." In the academy dormitory, another girl lay on her bed, muttering, "Cartia, even if I'm not around, you have to keep going. I'm already at my limits." She had only 22 points left, begging, "Someone, please help." What does the future hold for this girl counting down the days until she's expelled? By the way, guys, how do you like this video? If you do, turn on the notification bells and comment something about it. From now on, I'll probably make long videos rather than short ones. They'll come every 4 days for now. Thank you, and subscribe. As the match ended and the announcement was made, it looked like the main character, Viz, was the winner. Victory goes to Team Wiz. His fierce advance continued. Both he and Alan were on the ground, staring at each other with malice in their eyes. IT has been 1 month since enrollment, and as of now, 10 students have already dropped out. Out of all those 10, Wiz was the one to send 7 of them packing. Whether it was magic stealth training, magic tracking, or magic defense, in every single field, Wiz Vincent ranked first that a few guys were talking about this, as Wiz looked toward them with a glare. Someone pointed at him, saying, "Damn you, Wiz. Is this your second life, or something? What kind of training regime did you even follow to get this strong?" This is Duke Billion, Shirley's childhood friend. The guy said, even in yesterday's flat battle, you slipped right past the magic threads. Shirley said, like it was nothing, you flattened Alan in an instant and snatched the flag before anyone could even blink like a monster. With that test, his score was 5,700 points, first place in the entire year by a landslide. Just how much virtue did you rack up in your previous life? We see the childhood friend glaring toward him, saying, shut up, Duke. You're too noisy. Alan apologized to both Cynthia and Wiz, saying, sorry, you too. I lost to Wiz again. His childhood best friend replied, don't worry about it, Alan. Just win the next time. She was glaring right at the main character, and as both of them locked eyes, he was deep in thought that he thought this should be fine. The old was used to vent his negative emotions in nasty, underhanded ways. That's why he ended up hated by everyone and ruined. But the current me, I've let those emotions out fair and square through the matches. I haven't done anything to feel guilty about. There's no reason for anyone to hate me. Even so, seeing this woman glaring at him with menace in her eyes, he thought, please don't stare at me like that, Cheryl. Just then, his attention was diverted toward the classroom. The teacher, standing in front of girl, said, Cardius, in the next practical test, if you don't score any points, you understand, don't you? This is Cardia Violi, the same girl we saw in the last panel of the previous chapter. She replied, yes, I am fine. The instructor left her, saying, that will be all. And I didn't ask if you were fine or not. Biz looked toward her, thinking. We get to know that in the original story, she was expelled after the next exam. Using her frustration as fuel, she motivated her best friend to get serious and aim for graduation. That's how the side story went. Even though it was a fair match, he ended up getting her best friend expelled. So basically, after this, she quietly leaves the academy without making any particular mark. For some reason, the main character was in a dilemma about it. We see her raising her head, while a few girls talk behind her. Hey, Cardia, what are you planning to do for the next exam? It's a tag battle, you know? A tag battle. Do you even have a partner? That annoying bestie of yours already got expelled, right? Her last match was hilarious. She got absolutely trashed by Wiz here. How do you even lose all your points in a single match? Like, seriously. But then they noticed the main character standing just a meter or two away, and they freaked out, like a demon had shown up after saying his name. Wiz. Anyway, it looked like he was here for Cardia. He asked her, for the next exam, want to team up with me? She was quite shocked. The scene shifted to a cliff just outside the academy. Both of them were standing there, as Cardia asked, Wiz, why would you want to pair up with someone like me? I mean, I'm on the verge of expulsion, and you're the top-ranked first year. I don't think we're a match at all. Besides, you have Cynthia sent. As she said that, she got a death stare, a blatant black shadow watching from behind the tree. It was Cynthia. Cynthia's singer. She almost freaked out. Viz asked her, what's wrong, Cardia? Are you perhaps concerned about my fiancé? Don't worry about that. Cynthia wants me to be the best in the academy. She'll understand that partnering with other girls is just a means to win. Cardia tried to say no, but then that bloodlust from behind the tree, she pointed toward it. But there was no one. The main character told her, listen, Cardia, it's not like I'm trying to help you or anything. I don't have the time or energy to waste feeling sorry for every student who gets expelled. But it'd be a real waste if you got expelled. On the other hand, Cardia was still looking toward the woods, thinking, she's not there? Was it just my imagination? The main character continued, saying, your flying magic abilities are truly impressive. Even skilled mages find it hard to handle. So I just thought, it'd be a waste for someone like you, who can control it so well, to go unnoticed. Besides, for the next exam, I figured teaming up with you would be the most effective option. Meanwhile, Cardia had now directly gone into the woods to find Cynthia, thinking, there's no way I imagined it. She was definitely here just now. The main character said, the reason I'm trying to team up with you is because of your skills. Suddenly, Cynthia appeared with a greenish, evil grin on her face. Hee, impressive sensing ability you've got there. To be able to pick up on even faint traces of magic that even couldn't detect. Is your perception even sharper than his dark eye skill, I wonder? Even so, you didn't seem to notice Lilith, who has mastered assassination techniques. At that moment, Lilith stepped out from behind the trees, scaring Cardia. Lilith said, "The upcoming tag battle is apparently a joint exam for all 3 school years. And it seems Viz-sama has found some kind of winning strategy involving you, someone with a special ability, instead of partnering with me or Cynthia, who can fight effectively on our own even against second and third-year students." Both of them were hovering over her like she was a new concubine. Cynthia said, "I'll be pairing up with Lilith." Lilith added, "So please feel free to take on the exam with Viz-sama, all right?" As both of them closed in, Cardia felt the pressure and almost teared up from it. On the other hand, was giving his own motivational speech, ending it by saying, "And that's why I decided to pair up with you. There's not much time left before the exam, so we'll start special training right away." It looked like both the girls had returned their newest toy back to the master. Cardia couldn't say anything but yes. And just like that, in preparation for the upcoming exam, his special training with Cardia began. Wiz asked, "Why are you crying?" After doing some practice flying, Wiz was all beat up. He said, "It's a pretty tricky magic to master, but I'm really starting to get the hang of it now." Cardia thought, "You couldn't even stay in the air for 2 seconds in the first place." The plan for the exam is that Wiz will be flying, and she'll be riding with him, so there's no real need for him to learn it. Well, maybe not right now, but he figured this was a rare chance to learn. Cardia couldn't understand, so Wiz explained, "There's no harm in knowing it. Any magic can become a powerful weapon depending on how you use it. And right now, I happen to have a flying magic teacher named Cardia, so I thought maybe she could teach me a bit. Sorry for dragging you into this, even though it has nothing to do with the exam." Cardia was quite speechless, Wiz continued. "But in return, in tomorrow's exam, I absolutely won't let you get expelled. So even after the exam, would you still help me train in flying magic now and then?" She smiled and giggled a bit, thinking, "You really can't rely on rumors, huh?" "I had no idea Wiz was such a hard worker." She said, "All right, Wiz. If you're okay with me, then I'll help you. Everyone says he's some lazy, disgraceful noble, but he's nothing like that." She thought, "I want to be just like him, someone eager to learn and explore. A hard worker, just like Wizcoin." All of this was getting noticed by the homeroom teacher, who was standing in front of the dean of the academy. The old man, Gil's headmaster of the noblest magic academy, said, "Wiz Vincent, his score is hard to believe for an underclassman. And on top of that, more than half of the expelled students were taken down by him alone." The teacher agreed, saying, "Wiz is certainly impressive, but the rest of the students this year are also quite exceptional. The one who surprised me the most was Darius's apprentice, Alan. He kept rising back up from the brink of failure countless times, and each time, he came back stronger. And then, there are 2 more who really caught me off guard. Guess who they are? It's Lilith and Cynthia. They've grown at a pace unimaginable when they first enrolled. The 2 of them were training like their lives were on the line, without reinforcement gear and using real swords in life-or-death combat. That risky training made them incredibly strong, as we observe. Both of them finished their training, stared into each other's soul, and healed each other. Cynthia said, "You're quite something, Lilith." Lilith replied, "No, Cynthia-sama, you're the impressive one." Cynthia said, "Lilith, I'm going to get even stronger. Not just as someone tagging along, but as a strong, proud individual. I want to keep standing by Wiz's side, as an equal." Lilith had the same thought. "I want to grow stronger for Wiz-sama's sake. When he's in danger, I want to be someone he can rely on. That's why I want to become even stronger, much, much stronger." Both of them giggled, saying, "You're already strong enough, aren't you?" "No, not nearly as much as you, Cynthia-sama." We see both of them say in sync, "Well, anyway, for now, our goal is to drag that Cardia girl away from his side, isn't it?" Looks like both of these girls are Yander characters after all. Meanwhile, Cardia was getting quite the chills. Even in her room, as morning arrived and the day of the exam was at its peak, we see Alan, Duke, and Cheryl. Duke said, "All right, it's time. Let's leave it to fate. Rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses has to pair up with a random stranger. One shot. No hard feelings, got it?" Cheryl sighed. You're always making such a fuss. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors. On the other hand, Wiz said to Cardia, now then, the next pair will be transported to Mount Garion. 3, 2, and with that, both of them were in the woods, he said. All right then. Just like we planned, we'll go after the upperclassmen with the highest points and take him down. Are you ready for this, Cardia? She said, yes. As the announcement commenced via flying stock, all students, now that you've been transported to your designated point across the mountain, from this moment on, the joint 3 years tag survival test begins. Well, this is going to be interesting that on the other hand, we see her, none other than the teacher of the main character, the genius mage and ruthless woman. Looks like this time, Goldie Rogers was her target. She made the pirate her sleeve. She thought, I was trying to do something the other day, but I totally forgot what it was. Oh, that's right. I was planning to get my teacher's license for Noble's Magic Academy. So much for that. If an idea hits you, act on it right away. We see the viewer Net and lousy-eyed Swan yelling. The joint 3-year tag survival test begins now. Seeing this, both the main character, Vis Vincent, and Cardia looked toward it, as it was finally their showtime. The chapter begins in the huge mountains of the training or battle area, where people are getting executed by lightning. We see someone saying, "What's wrong?" while his friend is being executed. As he looks behind, someone with a sword impales him. A student is defeated, and the swan in the air flaps its wings and yells. First-year student number 31, Ariel number 21, Vivid, is unable to continue the battle. They will be sent back to the Noblest Magic Academy. We look toward the two who have just eliminated these students. One of them, a dark-haired guy, laughs his mind off, saying, first years are such easy targets. The cocky look of his partner shows what kind of team they are. He says, they can't even see through a simple trap like this. Don't underestimate them, just because they're underclassmen, though. I heard there's an amazing kid this year. The black-haired guy puffs it off, saying, amazing kid? Probably nothing special. After all the famous ones from our year already got expelled. His friend still tries to remember, saying, who was that first year? What was his name? If I remember correctly, it was Vis Vincent, right? Yeah, pretty sure that's the name. We see that this was said by the main character while defeating his black-haired friend. The guy looks behind toward Vis Vincent, who is smirking, having just defeated his second-year buddy, Liddy. The announcement rings. Second-year student number 10, Liddy, is unable to continue the battle. Seeing this, the guy goes into a fit of rage, attacking Vis with his mage-like skills and sword. Vis dodges all of it by a hair's breadth as trees break behind him. The guy says, damn it, where the hell did you pop out of? Vis taunts him, yelling, from the sky. As expected from a second-year student of this academy, it may be a basic fire spell, but it's packed with high-density magical power, and he cast it without incantation. We see a star on his shoulder, awarded for achieving excellent grades, meaning this guy is the real deal, and there's no holding back in front of him. Vis creates an invisible floating box in the air using a natural wall, stepping on it to gain momentum. The second-year boy tries to burn Vis into ashes with a massive fireball that pierces through a tree, but Vis dodges it just in time. The boy, now confused, thinks, did he just change direction in midair? Vis does it again, moving forward and attacking the second-year boy, who is scared witless, thinking he's doing it again. Vis impales the boy, and his body falls to the floor. Using his unnatural wall, Vis defeats him. He thinks to himself, I wasn't able to master flying magic, but I picked up a new technique instead, a transparent wall formed by combining dark, light, and non-elemental magic. I call it the unnatural world. As I just did, I can make it appear midair and use it as a foothold. That said, it only lasts for a split second as I kick off, and the farther I am from the ground, the more mana I drain, so I can't go very high. But that's more than enough. It's greatly expanded my techniques and tactical options. Looks like learning flying magic really paid off after all. As the boy's body is transported back to the academy, Vis, in all mode, gets ambushed by a guy with a mohawk on his head. With Vis's invisible shield, he is safe. The man, now scared out of his wits, thinks, what the hell is this? From out of nowhere, A spell comes and blasts the man in the face with a sonic boom, defeating him. The announcement states, second-year student number 17, Mahit, is unable to continue. It was none other than Cardia Vile who apologizes to Vis, saying, "Sorry, I tried signaling that another team was coming, but since you didn't notice, I ended up attacking." Vis looks toward her and says, "Don't worry about it. You made the right call. I'm surprised you could take him down in a single blow, though. You're pretty good yourself, huh?" She replies, "You too. That was amazing. What was that barrier just now? Does it activate automatically?" We see another character observing them from afar, saying, "I see. From the looks of it, that defensive magic is also a mix of dark and light magic. All of your abilities are high-spec, but they're insufficient. You can't use them repetitively." This looks toward this weird guy and thinks, "The partner of that guy we just took down." The weird specs guy says, "Don't get cocky just because you beat that trash. You're Vincent, the top first year, right? According to my calculations, the chances of you winning against me are 0%. Removing his glasses, the guy suddenly gets a boost as his muscles inflate. Now, looking like a madman, he says, "Surprise. When I take off my glasses, my combat ability multiplies by 3.14%. No, to be precise, 3.145, kind of a big nerdy number." Vis gathers magic in his hand and, in the next second, uses his ultimate skill, Dark Heal. As Dark Heal activates, the man's entire power is shut down. He says, "My strength is being drained away." What is that skill? This kind of information wasn't in my data. Vis, having drained his power and absorbed it, jumps toward him to finish him off, saying, "Come back after you've done more research on me." The guy is instantly defeated by a slash from Vis as the announcement rings. Second-year student number 96, Archimedes, is unable to continue. Vis smirks, saying one more down, and to Cardia, "Let's go." With 7,000 points in hand, he says, "Let's keep this up and grab a ton of points from the careless upperclassmen." Cardia looks at her own hand, ecstatic to see her 22 points have skyrocketed to over 1,300. They head toward a hill on a mountain, where Cardia is greeted by her rivals, Alan San and Cheryl's son. They say, "Care for a quick bout to kill some time?" Bursting with limitless potential and growth beyond the game, Cynthia and Lilith stand for a face-to-face showdown. As the next chapter arrives, the scene shifts. Cardia Vile rides her wand in the air, side by side with the counter, weird-looking swan staring at her. Meanwhile, Vis defeats second years like butter on toast. Another announcement declares a second year unable to continue. Vis breathes a sigh of relief, saying the second and third years have completely stopped showing up. Cardia replies, "Looks like they're not around here anymore." Vis thinks, "I guess it's because the magic wards keep announcing knocked out students over and over, making the second and third years curious and cautious, realizing there are stronger opponents here." Smirking, Vis says it doesn't matter where they run. He gets on Cardia's wand, flying in the air together, saying, "Forget about the first years. Let's focus on hunting the second and third years." Cardia, with a glint in her eyes, says, "Got it." The reason Vis teamed up with her is her special ability, flying magic, which even veteran mages struggle to control, and her extraordinary detection ability. She detects a guy in the woods, saying, "I think that person over there is a third year. They're too good at hiding their magic." Vis jumps off her wand in the air, saying, "I'm on them." With flying magic and detection, they can scout a wide area and launch surprise attacks from above in a forest with direct overhead attacks against their guard. With magical flying birds around, it's hard for opponents to recognize Vis as human. Surprise attacks in this world are incredibly strong. Vis blows the guy to pieces, attacking from above and sending him back to the noblest magic academy. He notes that people unaware rarely use magic to protect themselves, so a strike from a blind spot can almost always one-shot them. That's why Milk Sensei keeps nagging about always keeping the first move. Vis asks Cardia, "How much time do we have left?" She replies, "About 20 minutes. Vis yells, "That's bad. Hurry up, Cardia. Find the third-year students quickly." Ecstatic, she says, "Calm down, Vis. We've already earned enough points, so there's no need to take more risks." She has piled up over 2,000 points, but Vis, looking like a maniac, says, "That's nowhere near enough. You know this, right? The point system comes with special privileges. The more you earn, the greater the rewards. The privileges are C rank, 5,000 points or more. For private rooms, B rank, 10,000 points or more. For luxurious private rooms, A rank, 15,000 points or more. For full tuition waiver, and S rank, 20,000 points or more, to skip grades and graduate early. By the time freshmen move to second and third grades, the number of students drops significantly, and B- and A rank students increase. However, in the Academy's long history, not a single student has reached S rank. Cardia asks, "Don't tell me you're aiming for S rank by hunting down upperclassmen?" Vis, with a snub, makes a sly face, saying, "What I'm aiming for is B rank." She can't understand why B rank. He explains, "Of course my ultimate goal is S rank someday, but that's not what's important right now. You know about the B rank private room privileges? It comes with all-you-can-eat premium fruits through room service. That's what I'm after." She says, "Is that what you're after?" A flashback reveals that during Spartan training a year ago, Vis's only joy was dessert after meals. As training grew harsher, he lost his sense of taste for fruits. Then, one day, Jarvis prepared a super premium fruit, the mellow melon. That day, Vis regained his sense of taste. The hard-to-obtain mellow melon is all you can eat through B-rank room service. To experience that flavor again, Vis plans to take points from upperclassmen. Making puppy eyes, he says, "That's why I need your cooperation until the very end." Cardia agrees, "Got it. Since you're helping me out too, of course I will, Vis." She thinks, "I thought he was unusually motivated for this exam, but I never expected it was because of fruit." She reflects on her own family, who grows mellow melons, and blushes, wondering if Vis would visit if she told him. Suddenly, she spots dark energy rumbling through the forest. Scared, she says, "No good, Vis. That person. It's impossible. We need to get out of here." But Vis, already decided, jumps off her flying wand and lands in the forest, saying, "This just got interesting." Cardia tries to get his attention, but Vis is drawn to the demon. Reaching there, he finds a girl tending to birds, shining like a bright screen in daylight. She says, Era, you must be the rumored Vis Vincent, aren't you? This is Eva of Real, the second-year student. A long-haired beauty with one eye hidden. She laughs like Vis, saying, "Foo. I'm delighted to receive an invitation from the infamous Vis. Let's have a match to commemorate this." Vis introduces her, the strongest student in the academy, known as the true last boss, an official cheater, a game-breaking bug unlike anything in the game's history due to her overwhelming strength. Bored of academic life, she plans to leave the academy after this exam. She's the strongest character no player has ever defeated. Vis declares, "I'm going to fight her. It has to be now. Only 10 minutes left. I'll give it everything I've got to defeat her and bring this exam arc to a close." He charges toward her. Meanwhile, we see Alan, the so-called hero, with his best friend Cheryl on the ground. The two girls fighting him, Cynthia and Lilith, say, "You're the only one left now, Alan. Please don't take this personally. If we can defeat you, even Vis couldn't beat completely. I'm sure he'll finally acknowledge us. Prepare yourself." But they didn't think it through. Enraged by his childhood friend's defeat, Alan awakens with an overwhelming flow of energy coursing through his body. It looks like both girls are in serious trouble now. We see that after a grand clash with Eva, the background can be seen as flames and rocks that are split. The exam is finally over, as the announcement comments. We observe the main character who is almost out of his breath, while on the other hand, Eva looks like she hasn't even broken a sweat. She says, "Time's up. You're not bad. I didn't think that you would force me to use magic." Her figure can be seen as an overly powerful beast in human clothes. The main character, who thinks, "Who's talking? You're clearly holding back on me." Eva Avril is so strong. He played every card he had in his hand, whether it is Absolute Barrier, Dark Eye, Dark Heel, and yet all of this was for nothing. Not a single thing has worked on her. She stormed on the ground, and his barrier shattered. Eva, who still seems like a distant figure, says, "You see, I was getting bored of this academy. I thought I would quit after this exam, but now, after fighting you, I have taken quite a bit of a liking to you." She says this with a tone that would make a man break a sweat. The main character, who laughed while still being nervous as she says so, "I'll think I'll stick around here a little longer at this academy." On the other hand, we see Cardia in the air with her wand and the announcer Swan saying, "Well then, all the students will now be sent back to the noblest magic academy." As both Cardia, the main character, and Eva glowed with the effect, they were transported like that. And just like this, once again, I made a major change to the scenario. The main character who caused Eva to stay at the academy and avoided expulsion of Cardia. Back at the Noblest Magic Academy, we see that a third major thing had happened. For some reason, both Lilith and Cynthia were defeated. Looking towards them, the main character was quite a bit traumatized. He thinks to himself, "No way. Who on earth could have done it?" We see Lilith holding Cynthia as she apologized to Lilith, saying, "I got so caught up in thinking I had grown stronger, and thus the result. On top of that, I drag you into it and made use of you as well." Lilith, who was battered herself, says, "No, I'm the one who should be apologizing because I'm so weak. I tarnished Cynthia-sama's battle record." The tears that were welling up in the eyes of both the heroines as both of them say, "I wanted to win." The main character who looked towards them as they tell the name of the person who defeated them both. It was Alan, none other than the original main character of this novel. The main character who looked towards Alan and his party of friends near a tree. He looked at Alan, who was laughing with his friends. The stare that he gave to Alan, that death stare, was so intense that Alan had to gaze back at him. We see the main character and Alan both looking deeply in each other's eyes like they were ready to go all in. And with that, the joint 3-year exam came to a close. While enemies became stronger and friends faced some defeats, the scene changed to the present, where once again we returned to their usual academic life. Soon after the exam, Vincent was promoted to be ranked and gained a life of luxury. Every day was still a constant competition, but honestly, competing against the lower-ranked students was starting to feel unsatisfying for him. For a while, it seemed like those peaceful days would continue, but then something happened. We see their homeroom teacher coming and saying, "Well then, today I would like to introduce a guest instructor to you all." We see a dark figure behind those closed doors as she says, "Nice to meet you." The other people and the main character all look towards this instructor. While some say she is hot and were excited, some break a sweat, but the main character was in despair. His face turned into gradual depression as his vision was gradually turning red because it was none other than the nightmare. The nightmare of Vincent has returned. It was none other than Milk Investis. Milk Sensei says, and with that being said, starting today, I'll be in charge of your combat training. I am Milk Investis. Any questions? She says that with her usual rugged face look and those crony eyes. The main character, who is huffing for breath, looking towards the absolute nightmare that has fallen upon him, while someone else raised their hand saying, "Yes, I have a question." Well, that someone was Duke Billion, one of the friends of Alan. Duke says, "Why did Milk Sensei end up coming here as a substitute?" The main character, who is so happy that Duke asked this question in his place because he did not have the guts to ask that monster this kind of question. In his mind, he thinks, "Seriously, why did you come? Why are you even here, Milk Sensei?" We see Milk Sensei's response to this question. "Shut up. Don't ask me such pointless questions." Her face crawled up as we see Duke just standing with his posture and his hand raised as he was just embarrassed by his teacher. The main character, who is still in depression and despair, thinks to himself, "What is wrong with this woman?" We see the academy instructor and their homeroom teacher, Chloe, saying, "The reason Miss Milk ended up coming here is because we are currently short on instructors. Since the tag test the other day, we had many upperclassmen asking for extra combat training outside of the class, and that meant we needed to hire additional instructors, such as Milk Sensei." The main character thinks, "I see. They're all fired up because they don't want underclassmen looking down on them. But still, calling this person was the biggest mistake they could ever make." We see Milk Sensei taking the name of our main character, saying, "Wiz, are you thinking something unnecessary, aren't you?" She looked at him with a flare as he almost grabbed his pants. Looking at her back, he thinks to himself, how does she know about it? He tried frantically to say that he was doing nothing of this sort. He was just zoned out for the moment, and she bought it. The scene shifts to the mountain as we see someone saying, very well, push-ups it is. It was none other than Milk Sensei, who was now continuing with was Vincent's training. The main character who had to do push-ups while a heck of a weight was on his back. Milk Sensei says, it's been a while. This you seem to have improved quite a bit over the past few months. Don't tell me. The main character thought she came to this academy just to bully him. We see her face, and looking towards her, anyone would think the same. We see the other classmates thinking, whoa, Wiz is actually listening for once. What's with that substitute teacher? Saying that, they get the death stare by Milk Sensei herself and crap their pants. She asked them, you idiots calling that running? They tried to justify, but then she gave her creepy smile, saying, seems like this academy is full of spoiled brats. For now, everyone here, keep climbing the mountain until sunset. It looks like Milk Sensei traumatized the entire class. She says also to the main character, you are climbing the mountain while doing push-ups all together. He said, no way, that's impossible, but then she just crushed him under the weight by sitting on top of it. And thus, with Milk's arrival, combat training class turned into hell, or rather, a hell within hell. Whether a training day approached, everyone trembled and teared in fear. But on this particular day, we learned that even deserts have oases. As the scene shifted and they were in front of a pool, the main character thinks, why a pool? While the other boys think, what the hell is she planning now? As they looked over the other side, we see Milk saying, sorry to keep you waiting, boys. The other girls were also wearing their swimsuits as Milk Sensei says, today we're doing water training. Every boy was silenced in there, looking towards those beautiful girls as they rushed in the water to get the training started. We see the joy on their faces as even if he is the main character, he is still a boy, and the other boys are way too excited. Busy Milk Sensei saying, these stupid brats, while some are getting embarrassed and some are cracking on angle. The original main character Alan couldn't understand what was happening or why all of them were so excited. Well, continuing with the training, we see that girls and boys were fighting with each other on a stable platform in between the pool. Keep on bouncing more, they see. As expected of you is. The main character, by adjusting his own balance and dodging all the attacks from the female side, causing the females to go up and down in a steady full motion. With that, their chests bounced up and down, which was a euphoric effect to the boys, as they say, a technique you can only call godlike. So that's what the top-ranked first year can do. We see the main character defeated Cynthia like that, and with that, he caressed himself while sweeping his hair. All the boys say, you are amazing. You are the best. I was so wrong about you. Thank you, man. While the girls on the other side say, boys are the worst. Yep, Wiz is a scumbag. And the main character looked back with a grin, thinking, well then, who's next? Well, it was as our little Lilette was just confused. Nightmare that came to haunt him. It was none other than Milk Oasis with not-so-friendly bong in her hand. The main character, when looking at her, says, wait, please. I'm already done. I am seriously sick and tired of this same freaking punchline. And after a few minutes, Vincent was in such a diabolical state that both the men and women came to save him. Well, the scene shifted. Because of the antics of the boys, the instructor got fed up with it, and the water training was never conducted again. We see it's Cardia who was getting her lunch. It was a nice omelet with some veggies, a soup, and some meat-based product with a drink. Cardia, who was sitting alone dining with her own company, was approached by her bullies who say, if it isn't Cardia, as always eating by yourself, how she doesn't seem to eat with Wiz, our main characters group. Cardia tried to explain herself, saying, well, Wiz has Cynthia with him, so this and that. I thought I'd just get in the way if I joined them. The bully says, true enough. So in the end, Wiz and you were only partners for the tag team. You only got out of being expelled because of him. You leached off him that time, you know, making sure to probably thank Wiz-sama. Okay. We see Cynthia had that face, and she gave them quite a bit of a stare. The bullies retold with it, saying, what with those eyes? As we see a few figures behind him, they say, "You don't parasites. All you are good for is flying, yet you cling to the academy by leeching off someone stronger. Without Wiz by your side, you'll be expelled in no time. You better be ready, parasite." Busy as they left, we see someone else approach Cardia as she broke a sweat by their voice. It was none other than Cynthia, Violetta, and the little assassin Lilith. She thought to herself, one problem gone, and a new one has already appeared. As all three of them sat together to have lunch, she was in the middle as Cynthia says, "Cardiason, I have reconsidered my opinion of you during the recent joint tag team exam. Apparently, you and Wiz together defeated 24 students, including second and third years. Not bad at all. That's a record-breaking number." But Cardia replied with, "No, Wiz did all of that on his own." Lilith chimed in, saying, "Even if it was Wiz, I don't think he could have done all of that alone. Your flight magic and impressive abilities made that result possible. Even if we had teamed up with him, we could have not matched that score. It's frustrating, but we were completely defeated." As both of them say, "Please continue looking after Wiz-sama from now on." Cardia had tears in her eyes and a blush. Cynthia says to her, "Also, we have been wanting to talk to you about this for a long time. So why do you keep avoiding us?" Well, she just remembered the time all of them blackmailed her not to get too close to the main character. "Well, fine. From now on, together with Wiz, let's get along, Cardiason," they say as we see her tears dropping from her eyes. She was very happy while we see her bullies were eating cold frozen food. Cynthia says, "Well then, let's eat while the food is still warm." Speaking of which, she asked, "Where's our main character?" And Lilith, well, hesitated to give that answer, but says, "The main character is, well, kind of broken. Well, look at his image. He was all covered with bandages. This was what Milk Sensei did to him. He asked for her mind healing me already, but she rejected. After that, thanks to training with Cardia, she gave the bullies a taste of their own medicine in the exam and ended up getting them expelled. Well, that was a sweet revenge." As the scene shifts, we see Alan's backstory revealed. His village was burned, his family was killed, and on that day, he saw his hometown and his family for the last time. Shifting to the time when Alan was in his training period, we see someone telling him about the noblest magic academy. Hearing about it, he became quite excited. As we can see, his friend is cooking over an open fire. He says, "If I graduate from there, I can get the title of a noble." When he asks this, the girl, his close friend and childhood friend Shirley, tells him, "Yes, they say you can gain authority equal to that of a noble." She explains that once you graduate, even a commoner like him can enter dungeons all over the world and travel between countries with ease. In other words, this means Alan can use his own hands to wipe out the monsters who stole away his family and hometown. This is the motivation that drives this person, who is the original main character of the game. Hearing this, he finally decided, or rather, had already decided in the past, that he would take the entrance exam for the Noblest Academy. After that, Alan did everything he could, with Shirley and Master Darius helping him every step of the way. He trained hard and prepared for the exam. But on the day of the exam, something unexpected happened. He was absolutely crushed by the main character, Wiz Vincent, who was terrifyingly strong. Wiz grinned over Alan's defeated self. After a few days, however, Alan received a letter stating that he had passed, even though he was certain he would fail. The joy of getting into the academy was short-lived, though. The reason? The brutal point system after enrollment, which nearly made him fail over and over again, that we see a random noble standing behind him, thinking, "You're that loser who got defeated by Wiz Vincent, right? You'll be a perfect opponent for farming points, just like a slime." In this way, he was underestimated by everyone. But he had enough of that. He fought back with everything he had. He refused to live a life where everything is taken away from him again. Meanwhile, our main character, Wiz Vincent, was always watching him. For Alan, it seemed that was considered him a rival. He thought of him as someone worthy of fighting, the top-ranked first-year student. Does he actually recognize my strength? Even thinking about him makes Alan happy because he feels the same way. "I want to fight him again," he thinks to himself. "I will catch up to you in no time, and this time I will win and keep winning." I will definitely defeat you. Just watch, Wiz. Saying this, Alan had a smile on his face. But as the scene shifts to the current Alan, we see his face filled with grotesque hatred towards someone. He stops our main character, Wiz Vincent, in his tracks. As Wiz looks back at him, Alan says, I expected more from you, Wiz. We see both of them staring straight into each other's souls, ready to kill, as Alan continues, I really, really hate you, Wiz Vincent. Wiz just smiles right back at him from behind and says, don't worry about it. The feeling is very mutual. His face shows his true emotions. At that moment, people around them start discussing among themselves. What was that? Those two looked like they were about to fight. What were they talking about? The scene shifts to the training hall, where the main character, Wiz Vincent, is training all by himself. He's practicing swordsmanship, attacking, and moving alone. When he stops, someone praises him. Working hard, aren't you, Wiz? This is none other than Milk Sensei. She stares right at him as the main character calls her out. I can't get these distracting thoughts out of my head. What should I do? She jumps down from the second floor to the ground and says, Is this about Alan? It seems she already has the information. I heard it from Darius. You two don't seem to be getting along. The main character, hearing this, replies, He's just too soft, and that pisses me off for some reason. We then learn what happened in today's history class. As a lesson was going on, it was about how this country treats slaves and demi-humans. While the main character was explaining, he said, most slaves come from poor families or children born to irresponsible parents with no money. They're barely given any education on how to act. After that, they either commit crimes or just die in the gutters. As a way to control people like that, the slavery system isn't a necessary evil. That's what I believe. Hearing this, Alan's reaction was completely off the charts. He couldn't believe Wiz would have such thoughts. And that was when Wiz and Alan had that violent interaction we saw just a few minutes ago. Remembering all of this, the main character reacts furiously even now. That's what I wanted to tell you. Alan said slavery is evil. He even said that nobles themselves aren't necessary. Coming from him, who almost never shows his emotions. He said that in front of a crowd of nobles. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was shocked. But as for me, the naive way he talks really pisses me off. The main character was shivering with anger, saying war is bad and nothing else is no different from empty preaching. He talks as if everything would be fine if we just avoided conflict without offering any real resolutions. Even if slavery is abolished, war will still exist in this world. What about the children who lose their parents? He just said, those who can should help. Well, a load of nonsense. People live for desire, sleep, food, and in this world, there's also the desire to fight. So don't go spouting lofty ideas like that. They mean nothing. Hearing all of this ideological rant from Wiz made Milk Sensei almost fall asleep. He yelled at her, Are you even listening, Sensei? She replies casually, Oh yeah, you're right. Then she says, Well, Alan did grow up in an orphanage. Maybe what you said hit him harder than you thought. I get why Alan would lose his temper, but still, I didn't expect you to get that fired up over a classroom theory. Was it because your opponent was Alan? The main character finally realizes something as he breaks into a sweat. The reason he got so irritated and angry back then was because of the real Wiz Vincent's emotions inside him. So that's what it was. Do you really hate him that much, Wiz? Anyway, Milk Sensei walks toward the sword rack and says, Well, clashing opinions isn't a bad thing. Once you're an adult, even that isn't allowed most of the time. As she takes out a sword to spar, she tells the main character to brace himself. He's about to fight her now. As the night falls, we see a barrage of attacks from both sides. While they're training, Milk Sensei says, Keep your movements to a minimum, Wiz. He replies, Got it. Take this. But Milk Sensei just disappears and appears behind him, kicking him. You don't get it, huh? She kicks him from behind and yells his name. He looks back at her, confused about what she's yelling about. She attacks him again, throwing him back with her blade. It feels nostalgic when you fight like this. The main character, who is completely overpowered by her strikes, can't even reply properly. She continues, Actually, I was originally a student of this academy too. This is quite shocking news for the main character. Milk Sensei keeps talking. I also clashed with all kinds of people. If you're in this academy, that will inevitably become the way of your life. As the main character dodges her attacks while listening to her story, he thinks to himself, no way, this is possible. He has seen Milk Sensei's profile in the original game countless times, but he's never heard of such a setting. This is the first time she's actually said it out loud. That's why Milk Sensei says, honestly, I don't even want to remember that time. That's why I kept quiet about it until now. The reason? She got expelled from the academy. This confuses our main character even more. She explains, back then, even the point system wasn't as refined as it is right now. I ended up having to leave before I could show my full strength. She admits she was making excuses at the time, but to put it simply, she wasn't strong enough to win. The main character, absolutely baffled that the monster he's been training with, Milk Sensei, was rejected and expelled from this institution, says, there's no way. Milk Sensei, she cuts him off. Everyone is weak at the start, Wiz. But you should remember, at that time, I overestimated my own power. That was one of the reasons. That gap might be what decided it. As both of them fall back onto the ground, a different figure, a butler of some sort, looks toward his watch and their battle that Milk Sensei says, Wiz, humans don't change that easily. That was my belief. But you have changed significantly. You've changed beyond all measures. It can't be helped. Sometimes you get lost. Sometimes collisions are necessary. But convictions should be carried through. These words shake the main character to his core. Milk Sensei smiles at him and says, you're different from me. Unlike me, you know what the right path is. The main character, blushing as he looks at her, says, you're being unusually kind today. Did you hit your head or something? She snaps back to her usual self. I'm always kind, aren't I? I'll kill you, okay. Then she says, well, I guess anyone could be kind after this. Now we need to think about your next exercise. She's talking about the next event that's coming up. The main character, who already knows the details, says, I see. So it's already time for that to begin. Milk Sensei explains, the next exercise is a brutal survival training in the northern parts of the Gabriel Mountains, where monsters roam. If you mess up, you won't just get off with expulsion. It claims lives every year. The main character replies confidently, I won't die. That won't happen. She warns him, don't be overconfident. I failed because I overestimated my own strength. If you don't want to follow the same path I did, just because you became the top student in the lower grade, doesn't mean you get the right to be arrogant. The main character nods. That's true. Both of them get into a stance to spar again. He says, then shall we spar a little more? As they get ready to clash swords once again, we see the butler, or perhaps the warden, near the gate. He checks his watch and yells with all his might, lights out. He yanks the lever down, and the lights of the entire academy go off. This catches both the main character and Milk Sensei off guard. Now, only the light from the moon remains. Both of them stand in darkness, still staring at each other. Milk Sensei simply says, let's rest for the day. The main character replies, yes. By the way, guys, don't forget to hype the video for the next part. Just press the hype button. Let's set a target of 100,000 hype points. Rocket. The Magic Academy's training uniforms are combat-oriented. When worn inside a magic circle prepared in advance, they activate upon taking damage. The training requires a significant amount of magic power. In exchange, they reduce injury and pain. Thanks to these uniforms, students can fight each other seriously while remaining safe. The Novelist Magic Academy has produced many individuals who overwhelmingly surpass those from other academies. However, in this world, there exist opponents against whom these uniforms are useless that a strong man with bold hair speaks. He continues, they are monsters. He appears to be the teacher instructing the students in the classroom. He further proceeds, tomorrow's exercise will be a survival exercise in the northern Gadiel Mountains, where monsters live. It is possible to withdraw, but unfortunately, I should tell you that it will also affect your grades. Those who are prepared, sign here. He moves a paper in front of the students and asks them to come one by one to sign it. Some appear to disagree with the idea and are unwilling to sign. Such are the two students sitting at the desk, while some random guy says, "How about you guys withdraw?" as if he was looking down on them. The guy stands and shouts, "There's no way I'll withdraw." Seeing his courage, the girl also stands up, claiming, "Me too." "What's with this all of a sudden?" The guy replies, "I just felt like saying it." And he walks away. The girl further asks, "What's with him?" The teacher looks at the paper. All the signatures are in. "Thank you. It seems everyone is participating. Everyone, I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. It's finally starting, this event. All the training up until now was just a warm-up. The game really begins from here. The academic expulsion system is, so to speak, merciful. By weeding out those without ability early, it reduces the number of students who die pointless deaths. From here on, failure won't just end with expulsion. The death game starts now. As they reach the top of the mountain in snowy weather, wearing leather jackets, the teacher speaks. For the duration of 3 days, form pairs and survive in this forest. As I told you yesterday, this forest is home to a large, unspecified number of monsters. Pairs that defeat monsters will be awarded points, but more importantly, make survival your top priority. Just like the tag test last time, you'll be sent to various locations in pairs. The woman speaks. "Who is she?" The girl replies, "That's Jolly Sensing. She took her glasses off to prevent frostbite. That's common sense." "Miss Cynthia, you should remove your earrings as well." Another girl says. However, even in the game, the weather was a random variable. As a result, it's the worst-case scenario. Combined with how seeking this event is, it really brings my mood down. Ick boy, thanks to himself. But it's the same random guy who said to those kids to back off. The teacher continues. "Now then, since we've already decided on the pairings here, those whose names are called, step forward. Shirley Alias and Lilith Scarlet." They greet each other and ask to take care of one another. A sound comes from behind. Shirley and Lilith are paired. It's a different pairing from the original work. But as for the scenario, it probably won't change. The teacher continues. Next, Cynthia, Violetta, and Alan. The guy thinks this one follows the original. Cynthia is the main heroine of this game. Normally, this event would bring the two of them much closer, or at least it should. Then Cynthia turns to him and says, "Weiss, I am devoted to you alone." On which he replies, "Yeah, I believe you," while thinking to himself, "but I have a feeling that's not the case." Shirley, the girl, speaks from behind, catching her attention. "I will definitely win," she says, on which she replies, "Yes, I won't lose either, Shirley." The other guy speaks. Shirley and Alan really get along well. They're basically already dating, aren't they? No one's going to get in the way. The sounds come from behind. Weiss looks at them with pitiful eyes. Weiss thinks that despite having someone like Shirley, Alan ends up getting into such an intimate relationship with Cynthia. Is it because Alan is his comeback? Who's totally fine with the timing? No, it's not that. This conversation, just now, will become the last conversation the two of them share. Charge of the mana and disappears into the mist. A sound comes from behind. "Weiss!" he exclaims. "Huh? What? Who?" "It's Carter," a girl replies from behind her. "Weiss, you're being called next, you know." He replies, "You what?" "Really?" An energetic person from behind yells, "Your voice, you are paired with me. Let's work together for the next 3 days, partner." Which makes him not so excited and looks dull to get such a juggernaut with him. Whether he speaks in his ear, "For now, let's just get some food." On which he defends like, "Don't touch me," and all the personal talks. Meanwhile, in this exercise, as for Alan and his already painful life, a further blow was about to be dealt. In order to overcome that, his relationship with Cynthia rapidly intensifies. The greatest trigger for the two of them to deepen their bond. That is the death of Shirley Alias during this training exercise. In the north part of Mount Gabriel, the 3-day training exercise will be held. If things go according to the original story, Elias will surely die during this training that we can see withering trees covered with frost and snow. Suddenly, some kind of monster heads toward the main character, with Vincent at lightning speed dashing across the area. Wiz, ready to confront it, says, "Yeah," and looks toward the creature. Knowing exactly what to do, we see him activating his dark eye. a skill that can sense even microbes. It catches the bunny where it is. Vincent can now see the entire pattern of this demonic bunny. All of them jump toward him with grinning smiles, smiles that would even make demons shudder. He swings his blade with full force, eliminating 5 of the bunnies in one shot. As these little demons die on the floor, covered in blood, Wiz looks toward his teammate, who is surrounded by the bunnies. His teammate has a different approach from the main character. He simply punches them and knocks them out every time. We see him kill a bunny by throwing it against a tree. When another one tries to attack him from behind, he dodges quickly and delivers a reverse kick to its stomach. Well, that didn't work quite as well as he thought. Since his comrades had already killed the others, the last bunny ran away. But he literally jumps from the reverse pose he was in while kicking and finishes off the last one. As the screams of those bunnies echo through the forest, the main character was Vincent, thinks to himself, so scary. We then hear an announcement about the points awarded to both him and the guy, Duke. They move forward as the main character says, "Let's go." We learn that, for some reason, he has been paired with Duke. Duke is the eldest son of a knightly family, a family where everyone is a knight. He is a student who mainly fights using body enhancement magic that in the original story wasn't paired with Duke. It's probably related to changes in their grades. The main character doesn't understand what criteria they use to decide the pairs. But in a survival situation where stamina matters most, this kind of muscle head is a jackpot for him that we see Duke saying, "Wait a second, Wiz. Let's take a break already. I haven't eaten a thing all day, you know." He keeps complaining about everything. This training lasts for 3 days. Besides clothing, securing food, and shelter are part of the test. He asks, "So why are we hunting monsters like crazy? Isn't the order backwards?" Duke tries to impose his thoughts on the main character, but Wiz stays calm for a bit. After that, he says, "We are not eating this." Duke is caught off guard and says, "Huh?" Wiz breaks the silence by continuing, "For 3 days, we will hunt monsters without sleep or rest." That was enough to make Duke wet his pants in fear. We can see his face covered in sweat. The main character explains to him, "Listen, Duke, the weaker the monster, the more cautious it is. This forest is already filled with a large number of lower-ranked students. As time passes, the small fry disappear, and only the tough monsters remain, like bears and such. So for now, we need to move and earn points." After hearing this explanation, he asks, "Do you still want to rest?" Duke was speechless. The main character himself thinks, "No, this is really pushing it too far. What I just said was a made-up excuse on the spot. Earning points doesn't matter right now. Even if Duke is a stamina monster, there is no benefit to wandering around in this cold without even eating." Even so, Wiz can't afford to rest. He feels sorry for Duke, but Duke will have to go along with this as well. The reason for all of this is that he needs to hurry up and find her right now, no matter what happens. Still, Wiz was quite hesitant. There is no way that explanation would have convinced him. Should I tell him a real reason, too? Well, Duke was quite silent for a time. Then he calls out, "Wiz," and says, "You are perhaps a genius." This was such a random answer that even the author himself is confused. We see Duke joyously shaking as he says, "No, I agree. Come on, Wiz, you should have just said so clearly from the start. Then let's hurry and move on. The longer we wait, the fewer small fry there will be to catch, right?" Seeing this, Wiz remains calm. His emotions don't change. But in his mind he thinks, what on earth is wrong with this guy? On the other hand, the scene shifts directly to 2 people in a cave with a bonfire. These 2 are none other than Alana's best friend, Shirley, and Lilith. While Lilith sits beside the bonfire, Shirley is on guard. Lilith asks, "Is it still the same outside?" Shirley says, "Yes. It doesn't look like we can move because of the snow." Lilith hands Shirley a cup of freshly warmed water that she got from melting the snow all around them and says, "Here, you should have it. Don't drink too much or you'll upset your stomach. So please be careful." Shirley thanks Lilith for it. As both of them drink the warm water, Shirley thinks to herself, "Lilith Scarlet, she is the maid of the infamous was Vincent. I thought she would be some kind of terrible person, but she has polite manners and a good demeanor. More than anything, what surprised me was her strength. She sliced off a monster's head in one fell swoop. Even though it's hard to keep your footing on the snow, she treats it as if it's nothing and keeps taking down monsters with terrifying speed. For Lilith, it's just an everyday task. It looks like even if they are enemies, Shirley is amazed by her strength. Our little Lilith says, even so, Shirley's magic is amazing. The reason we can safely spend time like this even now is thanks to your magical threads. Unlike humans, monsters have a very low ability to detect magic, so it really helps that they walk right into the traps on their own. Shirley says, I'm more of a rearguard type, so I'm really glad I got to team up with a vanguard like you, Lilith. But it's about time. We see a beam of light flicker from her finger and go deep into the forest. It looks like the trap's effect is going to wear out, and Shirley has to go and set it up again for it to work. She starts walking toward the deeper forest. While she's walking, we see a few eyes looking toward her as if she is a feast. Shirley doesn't understand, but she is surrounded by a pack of monsters. Someone yells toward her just as the monsters are about to attack. It is none other than our little Lilith. She says, it's dangerous to go alone. We see the amount of power and aura radiating from her is too much. The entire pack of monsters tucks their tails between their legs. Seeing our little Lilith, they know there is no way they can defeat her. Shirley says to Lilith, your footsteps are so quiet. It's kind of scary. Lilith just laughs a little. We get to know something about the family of Shirley. She is the daughter of the Alias family. Not just that, she has heard her family name for her entire life. Ever since she was young, no one has ever called her by her own name, Shirley. Well, one unfortunate day, she got kidnapped by a few guys. The kidnappers tied her to a pole. Looking towards her, they were laughing. They were saying this brat is worth more than 10 million, as expected of a noble. Well, poor Shirley was broken when she heard the words that she should be glad she is from the Alias family. While she had tears in her eyes, waiting for her fate, we look at a boy, a black-haired boy, who entered the premises. Well, as he came close towards that wooden shack, he was noticed by one of the kidnappers outside. As the kidnapper was wondering what a kid was doing there, that kid just destroyed him. Well, this was none other than Alan, the hero. As Alan entered through the door, shocking both the kidnappers with a bright smile on his face, we see him defeating everyone. Shirley, who looked at everything, was completely confused. This made Shirley think to herself blankly, what is happening? We see Alan holding both the kidnappers in the room by their heads, and then again by their legs. He showed them to Shirley. He introduced himself as Alan and said in a calm voice, I came here to save you, Shirley. The time that it stopped felt like it started moving again. From that day on, for her, that was the first time Alan and her met, and that was also the time she fell in love. Alan was a commoner raised in an orphanage, and his dream was to make this world even. From the perspective of Shirley, that was impossible, a world without nobles, commoners, or slaves, an equal society without class difference. Aware of this, there will be all kinds of ideals that he is talking about, but this is not just empty talk for him. While there, the Knight Commander Alan made Shirley understand and promised her that he would prove it through his actions. Well, this is the capital of the Royal Knights. Zevis Aldine, who has to Alan, what a persistent brat, you again. Well, Alan asked the Knight Captain for training, and his training began. When she was young, she liked him. She loved his dream of a world of equality, but unlike him, she couldn't show it through her own actions. She wanted to become like him as well. Before she had realized it, she had already fallen in love with him too deeply. After that, Alan and herself, and of course that guy from that day, somehow ended up stuck together and decided to enroll in the Noble's Magic Academy as the first step forward to their goal. But something unexpected happened. On a rainy night, right in front of her own eyes, she couldn't believe it. When our main character, Vincent, destroyed Alan like it was nothing, he made Alan taste the floor. The one they made, there was an infamous man out of course. Looking towards the main character's smile, she was shocked, but she was more shocked about how, without effort, he was using his talent and power to do whatever he pleased. During the entrance exam, he beat Alan unnecessarily, she thought to herself. Who knows what kind of dirty tricks he used? but he completely dominated the top spot in grade. There were rumors that during the tag exam, he used Cartier as a shield and ambushed seniors. But Alan, when hearing these kinds of rumors, neglected it outright and said that cannot be true. Shirley couldn't understand why Alan didn't believe her, but Alan had already decided that it's true that he doesn't get along very well, but his strength is something he built through effort. There is no way he could have used dirty tricks like that. He has the conviction of a warrior. He can tell that because he had fought him. Well, Shirley was very stubborn about her decision. She thinks to herself, I don't think so. Alan just doesn't know the ugliness of the nobility. In her perspective, treating slaves crudely or even killing political enemies is an everyday occurrence for them. Nobles act righteous, but will still do dirty things if needed. That's what nobles are like. Because she has grown up in that kind of environment, she had a dream of an equal society where nobles didn't exist. It's hard to believe that someone like Vincent, with so many bad rumors surrounding him, the thought of him doing nothing wrong was something she had never even imagined. She had observed Cartier. She must have been put through something or fooled by the main character. She even tried to approach her, but Cartier was just scared of Lilith and Cynthia. Shirley, in her own mind, decided that Vincent is the lowest of the low. Well, as that happened, someone knocked on her door. This person was someone that she hadn't imagined in her wildest dreams. It was just a day before the survival training. For some reason, Vincent came to her room, thought he came to see her. He took her name, saying it's about tomorrow's training. Withdraw from it immediately. She couldn't understand anything, but yelled at him, You said the same thing earlier today as well. Why do I have to withdraw from something like that? He just told her, Because it's dangerous. I have seen your abilities. I don't think you will be able to handle the training. She thought to herself, Is he worried about me? That's strange. We have barely even talked. She outright rejected him, saying that she won't withdraw no matter what he says. He just made puppy dog eyes, saying even if I ask, it won't work. She was caught off guard by it and just shut the door on his face. He then started saying that you surely have some points left, don't you? There's no point in that. But she outright rejected him, saying there is no point in continuing this conversation. She thought to herself that this makes no sense. She has no intention of talking to him anymore. Seriously, what is with him? He acts like he is concerned just to make me let my guard down. Is he planning to take down his rivals like that? She thought to herself that has to be it. The fact that he is running away with first place must be because he is pulling tricks like the others over and over again. And those two girls around him are no different than AS for Cartier. She is probably being blackmailed by him into being his fiancée. And Lilith as well must be forced to obey him. AS, she made these thoughts. Lilith's eyes shrank down. She just caught her by her neck and with one hand lifted her up. She was enraged. She said, There are things that you can't say. Shirley tried to say something even then, but she was cut short as Lilith said, Vincent is a wonderful person. I'm here of my own will. I'm not being used for someone's convenience. Her eyes were as cold as rock. Shirley understood that immediately. From the way she looked, she could tell how much she admired him. It was already the third day of the exercise. She had gotten closer to Lilith, and they could talk about all sorts of things now. They were steadily earning points, setting traps, casting protective magic, and safely defeating monsters. But more than anything, it felt comfortable because she didn't treat me like a noble. But I ended up making her angry because of that. She remembered that time and thought to herself, for once, could it be that all the rumors about Vincent are actually false? Well, she noticed something and realized that a trap had been triggered, and she needed to go and reset it. She looked behind and saw that Lilith was sleeping. She couldn't sleep at all during the watch, so it's not surprising. She decided not to wake her up and go alone to the trap. Things were a bit awkward after last night, of course. Well, as long as she came back soon, it should be fine, or so she thought, because her eyes widened when she saw a monster right in front of her. That monster, who was already planning on taking her life, took no mercy and started attacking. Suddenly, she was surrounded by multiple enemies at once, and then after a while, blood splattered. As the story continues, we see that Shirley was about to be finished by the pack of demon wolves, but suddenly Lilith arrives there at the perfect time and saves Shirley. As she was doing so, she got bitten by a wolf. Shirley, at the same time, was astonished to see Lilith there. But Lilith was facing the wolves fearlessly. Why and that wolf was no match for her, and she took the life of the wolf who was attacking her and Shirley. Following this, Lilith and Shirley stood back to back, ready for the battle. All the wolves were also ready to attack them too. As they were standing back to back, Shirley apologized to Lilith and told her that this was happening because she actually wanted to set up a trap all by herself. Hearing that, an angry Lilith told her that she didn't need to apologize to her, and right now, she should rather focus on taking all the wolves down. Because, at that time, they will have to take care of dozens of wolves, and there is no way to get through them without breaking a sweat. As she was saying so, Lilith was taking down the wolves one by one. Following that, she thought that since 3 or 4 wolves were not enough, they had called the rest of the pack, and that there were even more monsters than she had since 2 days ago, and she went on with her attack. Seeing Lilith steadily thinning out the numbers of the wolves, Shirley was mesmerized, and she found it amazing, and she further thought that at this rate, they can surely win this battle. Following that, as Lilith took out several wolves, she realized that there was only one wolf left, and she was about to attack that one wolf. Then all of a sudden, the single wolf that was standing in front of them started howling like crazy. There, they understood that this was his signal to call even more wolves, and the next pack of wolves arrived, and it was huge in numbers. Seeing this, Shirley and Lilith got really scared. At this time, Lilith looked at Shirley, and she told her to run, because if they got surrounded by that many wolves, they would be done. There, we see that they both started running like crazy, and at the same time, the wolves were also chasing them too. Suddenly, then, Shirley was attacked by a wolf from behind, and she fell to the ground. Followed by that, all the other wolves also started attacking her. Seeing this, Lilith was stunned. But Shirley, on the other hand, didn't give up, and she fought back, which resulted in her getting out of there. But, at the same time, she lost a lot of blood. As she got away from those wolves, she put on a magic spell and blocked the wolves, and she started running again with Lilith. As she was running, she said that this would buy them a little time, and seeing this, Lilith said that she had done a great job, and they were trying their level best to escape the place. Suddenly, then Shirley realized that she was losing a lot of blood, and that the wolf's saliva probably contained something that prevents blood from clotting. As she was thinking all of these things, they both suddenly stopped, and they both were absolutely flabbergasted at this point in time, because they saw that they had reached the end of the cliff, and that they realized that they could no longer go ahead now, and behind them, the wolf monsters were coming. Following that, a tired Shirley said they were at the end of the cliff, and that her vision was getting blurry, and it was really getting hard for her to even stand. At this point in time, Shirley's legs were shaking due to massive blood loss, and her life was flashing in front of her eyes. In her head, she was thinking that this was going to be the end of her life, and she was thinking of Alan. His face was flashing in front of her eyes. Seeing her shiver like this, Lilith was really getting concerned, and at this time, Lilith was also getting scared, and she also thought that this might be their end. All of a sudden, Lilith gathered courage, and like a war cry, she screamed that she won't lose like this, and she refused to give her life away like this. And at this time, she was getting fired up. Seeing that, Shirley was stunned and looked at Lilith. She then looked at Shirley and said that she was absolutely certain that she wouldn't give up like this. There she further adds that she has a goal to create a world of true equality until she graduates from the academy. Therefore, she says if she loses her life like this, then in that case her dream of equality would be over. Hearing that, Shirley also got charged up, and she also stood her ground to fight back. On the other hand, the wolf monsters were also roaring, and they were charging towards Shirley and Lilith. Suddenly, they all heard a thunderous sound, and they realized that someone had screamed a sacred curse. Lilith and Shirley were stunned, and even the wolves stopped too. Following that, Shirley and Lilith saw that all their wounds were cured, and their energy level got boosted too. Shirley's vision got back to normal, and her legs stopped shivering. They were really surprised at this point in time. On the other hand, the wolves also got fired up by looking at them, and again, they were ready to attack Lilith and Shirley. Then they both looked away and saw that someone was running towards them. Upon having a good look, they realized that it was Weiss and that he was coming to rescue them. Seeing this, Lilith was overwhelmed with joy, and there she said to Shirley that it was Lord Weiss, and that he was there to rescue them. As he reached there, he told Lilith to get down right where she was. Then he took a pause for a second. Following that, he looked at Shirley and asked her to do the same too. On the other hand, we see that all the wolves shift their focus to Lord Weiss, and they roar and charge towards Lord Weiss. Seeing that, Lord Weiss said that these filthy demon wolves shouldn't think that they can beat him with numbers. As he said that, Lord Weiss started tearing apart all the demon wolves there, and we can see that he was doing that with ease. On the other hand, Shirley was stunned to see Lord Weiss there, and at this time, she was asking herself what Lord Weiss was doing there. Moments later, she realized that one of the demon wolves there was coming towards her, and that she was about to be attacked by that wolf. Seeing that, she was stunned and got really scared because she was caught off guard. Then suddenly, Duke came out of nowhere, saved her, and finished the demon wolf. Lord Weiss then told Duke that he would take care of the front and asked Duke to take care of the rear. Hearing that, Duke stretched his hands and then very casually said that he understood and that he was ready to take care of the rear. Moments later, we see, within a few minutes, both of them just demolished all the demon wolves, and it indeed looked like just a cakewalk for Lord Weiss and Duke. On the other hand, Shirley and Lilith were absolutely astonished to see that they didn't need to break a sweat to finish those demon wolves. Moments later, Lord Weiss said that there were certainly a lot of demon wolves there. On the other hand, Duke also stated the same thing too. Duke then further adds that he finds it crappy to fight back-to-back battles, and further told Lord Weiss that he needs a break. Following that, we learn Duke is Shirley's childhood friend, and that he has the kind of personality where he can get along with anyone that he likes. But, at the same time, he doesn't open up his heart to people he despises, and yet he opened up to Lord Weiss that much. So, that by itself spoke volumes about the kind of person he is. Lilith then looked at Shirley and said that she had told her before, and now she was going to tell her again that Lord Weiss was an absolutely amazing person. As she was saying all these things to Shirley, Duke said that he was tired, and he lay down on the ground to rest. Seeing this, at first, Lord Weiss was okay. But then again, Shirley and Lilith looked at Lord Weiss and asked him if he would get frozen by sleeping on the ground there. In response to that, Lord Weiss replied that his name is Duke, so that's why he thinks that he would be fine, and then he asks them not to worry about him anymore. As he said that, he smiled at Shirley and Lilith, and there we can see that all of them were slowly and steadily getting along with each other well. But, from a distance, we see that a girl was looking at Shirley, Lord Weiss, Duke, and Lilith skeptically, and at this time, she was hiding behind a tree. Following that, the woman asked to herself in her mind if she was looking at the man known as Lord Weiss and his comrades. Moments later, we learned that she actually heard a loud noise, and that's why she came there to check out what actually happened there. Following that, she understood that Lord Weiss, Shirley, and Lilith were there to fight demon wolves. After that, she realized that she was a step too late, and she was feeling really left out. From the looks of the situation, she figured out that they had already settled the matter, and at this time, we can see that she was flabbergasted to understand that. Afterward, she also noticed that there was a single one there too, and she realized that its body wasn't disintegrating. As she thought that, the wolf was twitching, and we can see that Shirley was astonished too by this very unusual fact, and now we will have to wait and see what happens next.